Hi, my name is Kari. This is my new friend Megan. And I invited her to come on, and so we could just tell everybody how we just met only a few weeks ago.
Agreed.
Um, preface. I went to CEDU, which was a Synanon-based troubled teen industry school, and I met somebody over a year ago who told me that they also went to Hyde. Megan went to Hyde, and that they had flat out told me that Hyde was almost like a cousin to CEDU, but nobody really knew about it, and I couldn't get anybody to talk to me about it for over a year. With my friend Christian, she was in a tattoo contest, and we found her. We found Trauma Barbie, and we thought, because we were so in our defensive of the cult thing, we thought the Trauma Barbie was a trap for us, basically. And then when we found out about stuff, and we found out you went to Hyde, I was like, we have to make friends with this girl right now. And that was only like a week and a half or two weeks ago.
Yeah, I think it's been roughly about 3 weeks. Yeah, we've been talking for about 3 weeks, and the parallels that we've discussed have been nuts, if I wouldn't say myself.
So yeah, talk about the contest and what happened in the middle of the contest and
Okay, buckle up, Buttercup. Here we go. So I was scrolling Facebook one day and I saw this inked original contest, but it wasn't like the magazine cover contest. It was tell us about your tattoo history and your art history. So I just randomly decided to join it. And I was like, okay, let's do this. It looks fun because I had started writing under the Trauma Barbie, like you said, and doing debriefs about literally my trauma, like a trauma dump in a debrief form and field status operations. So when that happened, I didn't, meet my rescue Bella real quick.
that's
So
okay.
when that happened, I didn't think anything. I didn't even think I was going to get chosen. And then I got thrown into the competition and I made it through the first round of like the top 30 people. I think I made it to 20 and then I made it to 15. And then I realized I started needing more votes, but I didn't want anyone to pay. So I started posting in like survivor community groups because I'm a survivor as well, obviously. And that's when I came across another survivor who was doing it, but we didn't really talk during the competition. And so like I had made it to 8th place when they were doing the top 10 cut. And then all of a sudden I got a pink slip put on me. And so I was pink slipped in the middle of the competition and I topped out in 12th place of my subgroup.
So explain to what other people might know what a pink slip is.
I was walking home and a situation occurred with my neighbors and the police responded, and I don't think that anything should have resulted from it, but as a result they had about a piece of paper. I've never been in legal trouble here, about 3 paragraphs long on me. They were all passing around reading, and next thing I know, I was in the back of an ambulance for my own benefit, crying my eyes out because I didn't know what was going on. They were all reading this paper, and the EMT who actually had to sit with me in the ambulance was telling me, I know who you are, calm down, scream it out, get it out, you're fine, don't let them win, don't let them break you. And I'm sitting there like, what is really going on? So I was supposed to be discharged the next morning, and of course my husband lost his phone because, irony is irony, whether what happened happened. And so I spent a week in there, and then I got out and found out I topped out at 12th in the competition. As soon as I got out, I actually had this sunflower dress that I got the morning it happened. And sunflower to me is Zach Bryan's song, my wedding song, long story short. So I posted a debrief outside in the sunflower dress, like I'm back. And that was kind of how I told everyone. And I ran into Christian, because her and I were talking about the competition later, and I didn't realize she was close with you. And I divulged to her about the pink slip, which was the psychiatric hold.
Yeah, and I actually think that we became friends before you even talked to Chris yeah, because I was like, because
Pretty much.
Yeah, because we weren't really telling each we.
You approached me, and then we ended up talking together, and then her and I ended up talking, and then I kind of felt like she was coded safe, so I reached out to her, and then her and I started talking.
We also didn't want to be like, oh, you can, like, we also didn't want it to be like we were goading you on.
And I
to
didn't feel, I
deceive
haven't
you.
felt goaded at all. I just felt like it was a genuine connection where we understood each other from the get, like from the rip. We had so much in common because of our histories.
And that's and because seriously, that's what I felt when I talked to this one person from Hyde, right when I got home from fucking DC last June, is I talked to somebody from Hyde for like 2 weeks straight. Like they sent me so much stuff, and I was like, to Hyde is so much like CEDU, and I've publicly stated that a lot, and it's been nobody, So when we found out that, so from my perspective, we thought that you were a plant by the Barbie bitch cult. We thought that you were that my enemies, the mean Christians' enemies, that you were like a new winged monkey for them to trigger us because they knew that Christian was doing that fucking tattoo contest.
So I knew nothing about any of
And yeah, and even when I was telling you about it, you were like, "Oh my God, are they talking about me?" Like, I'm like, "No, no, no. This is all like so much mean girl stuff gets amplified by the survivor community stuff by multiple things. First of all, this is all in text messages usually, and we always forget that like words can be taken fucking very differently,
especially when the motion is taken from it. You're just reading flat.
Yeah.
I mean, I know it's my autism and my ADHD. If I read that, I spiral.
So, were you diagnosed autistic before you got sent away?
No, I was okay. So, funny story. I remember sitting at Hyde reading diagnoses, telling my mom, like later, like, I swear I'm borderline. I swear I'm borderline. She's like, no, you're not, blah, blah, blah. Right. Turns out because of my undiagnosed autism and my unmet needs as a child, I now have CPTSD, which can also be translated into borderline as an adult. So basically, all of this trauma has like
that's what we all have. So
it slipped my brain.
It took me a long time to figure it out that we all have a special kind of autism now. I wasn't autistic before. I mean, maybe, but there's something about the forced institutionalism and that we all have complex post-traumatic stress disorder while our brain was developing, but it's like
Agreed.
When you're a child, your brain wants to imagine things that's when you were supposed to be exploring. And that's when we were programmed to be different humans. So
Agreed.
afterwards, like I can't go to the mall and because there could be music playing at some point, and if I can't,
we talked about those random like ingrained triggers that these schools, whether it's like verbals or situations or even songs that just spiral us.
Right. And so but it's also, so I'm friends with an autism specialist. Like she's hysterical. Okay. Her name is Angela Kingdon, like K-I-N, not Kingdom, Kingdon with an N. And she's also a friend of Ann Peterson, who's my friend who worked for Werner Erhard and worked for Landmark.
I was gonna say, I remember that name.
So Landmark is the Werner Erhard seminars. There were like these seminars that started in the 70s.
Okay.
That were like you could go to a hotel and for like like it was like a synonym derivative thing. But the people at Landmark don't even know that it's synonym derivative yet. They think it's from Scientology because it feels like Scientology.
I mean, that's what I told you the first time we talked, when we started talking. Like, are you talking about Scientology?
And that's how I knew you were fucking one of them. Like, that's how I knew that you were, that this was like, you're one of my people. Because if you get that, that's what my fucking documentary has been about this whole fucking time.
And I didn't even know that. Keep in mind, I had no idea when I said that to you that would like be like I guess my gatekeeping comment, like that I know she's one of us. I had no idea.
Yeah, and it's the first time that I talked to Kristen the Wanderer. First time I talked to Chris, it was the first time that anybody in the community was like telling me the truth. Do you know what I mean? And it wasn't even like, it was her version of what she knew was to be true. You know what I mean? But the first thing that she said to me was that, I don't know if you believe in people being psychic or whatever, but like I'm a knowing psychic or whatever. And I was like, well, I am too, and I know that you're not lying because I'm also, it was like, yeah.
Exactly.
Okay.
You could feel the energy.
And I was like, go. And and we talked for a legendary amount of time that everybody knows about now because, somebody told me all of the tea. And I believed every fucking word of it because I knew that I was speaking to somebody who was the same species of fucking human being as I am. You know what I mean?
I get it, because there is something about, even just in the calming effect of me saying, like, when we met and we talked on the phone, your presence to me was more understood than when I met my husband, for example. Like, I felt a connection with him. Like, don't get me wrong, like a very strong connection. But it's almost like I could feel with you, like, this woman understands me.
And that's also dangerous
Agreed.
because in the community, when we feel that with people, whether it's real, and it's always real, you know what I mean? But
Uh-huh.
that can be used for fucking awful things.
Weaponized. It can be like, you had the perfect word. It could be weaponized.
And you know what? That word was it was I've learned the word weaponized because Katie Mack will weaponize survivors. That she will get them doing whatever she wants for their activism, and they are just gone. They're weaponized. So like I've even like, I'd feel people trolling on my page, and
Uh-huh.
I'd be like, hi, I'm sorry that you've been weaponized by Katie Mack, but and that's kind of where I've learned that fucking word.
Well, that's wild, because like I didn't even realize, like, and I've had my own experiences with, like, the bullying of just life. Let's start there. Like, I've been
Yeah.
bullied my whole life for one reason or another. And I figured, as an adult in a community of people where, like, I I had to survive this once to be part of this community, you know what I mean? Like, I wouldn't have to survive it again. And
Yeah.
here we are, and it's wild to me, because, like, my my whole platform always came from screaming into a void, because I never wanted to be seen, I wanted to be heard. And now that I'm heard, I feel like I'm being hated.
So I watched this happen in real time. It's I was offline, girl, for like fucking 5 years.
I remember you told me you needed, like, a mental health break.
No, I saw that you post that you were like, um, something about like there's no haters, like or something about you posted something about
Oh, this morning I reshared it. Like, it's people that are mad at their own life, because, like, you can't have haters. It's people that are projecting and angry about their
no.
own internal stuff.
My father is a full hater, and he taught me to have hate in my heart. So the way that like I'm a full proud Karen, like proud Karen, like, and I think I told you you thought that was really
Yeah, he's dying when you said it.
because and it's a CEDU thing is that, and I'm sure that this is like, but I think that Hyde took it to another level with you is that when you were going through CEDU, it was full on clear that staff could have left for a week and the older students would have fucking run the school. Like that.
Yes.
Yeah.
So we had second year seniors. They were called 13th year. And it wasn't everybody, but it was people that they thought that weren't ready to go to college immediately. So they kept them for a 13th year. And they were typically the ones that ran the place. They even ran it for Thanksgiving when I was
Right.
kept on InPost. It was mostly very young staff, like early to mid 20s, and like these second year seniors.
Oh no, this was like so. The thing that was different about CEDU is that CEDU was 2.5 years long. That was it.
Oh, Hyde was like a 4 to 5 year program if you started and completed and got the second senior year. You were there 5 years.
So yeah, so that's why, and that's the thing is that that's how I knew that yours was like the better or like the harder version. Like I think it goes,
It was a
in like
nightmare.
Hyde, Cascade, CEDU, then RMA's like a weird version or whatever, and then all the other ones. But like yours is, I feel like the mother.
I mean, I can tell you that it was why I have never experienced anything like that in my life. And I've spoken out about it a couple of times.
The thing about the running the thing was it like, did they have things where like leave every room better than like if you ever see a piece of trash on the ground, you should always like You like, you always like took the initiative to make the world a
Yes,
better
like pride
place.
in yourself, pride in your appearance, pride. Basically, it was pride in the curated, carefully curated life that you put on, like your facade, make it look real, make
So
everything.
obviously,
But
it was
it
more
was the
like
same.
take pride in like they want us to like we were the groundskeepers like
Yes,
yeah, so like it was like
we
take
did
pride
that.
in
Yes. And they
um
used to have this statement at the end of every like group meeting and stuff. We would say the truth would set you free, but first it would make you miserable. And it was very AA-ish, but it
so
was also like the way that like our truth and our freedom and our being better and better people would make us better every single moment in our moving life.
so there the first thing that the person that I spoke to from Hyde
Yes.
that she sent me was that so in my website is www.cedudocumentary.com.
Okay.
When you look to it, the first thing it says is the truth shall set you free. And so when she saw it, she sent me that, and then she sent me the high version, which was the truth shall set you free, but first it will make you miserable. And then
Because that was
that's what I was,
accountability.
yeah, that's so Hyde is like CEDU on the brown acid from Woodstock.
Probably. You're probably not wrong in
It's
that, because some of the stuff was wild from what you've told me in the comparisons. They're so similar, but they're so different. And I think that's how Hyde avoided being considered a TTI for a long time and was an elite boarding school. It wasn't considered behavioral, it was considered elite boarding.
right, because the whole thing is that so there's a local troubled teen school and it's where I live. And
Okay.
I've been wondering if Hyde, and I don't think it's abusive. I don't want to say it just because but I don't think it was abusive because I had a fucking friend that worked there for a while. He quit.
Okay.
He quit, but he quit because he was telling me about it. I was like, oh, was it because it was a cult, whatever, And no, that wasn't why he quit. He quit because he didn't want to turn into what the kids wanted him to turn into.
Because these places make you a monster. Like you
Right.
don't know how many of these they call them those second year seniors when we were building the dirt road and we were doing the groundskeeping, because when we got in trouble we were on 2-4. We built dirt roads. You'll see that on the 48 hours that you saw. For example, Bell Stop. So for example, when all that would happen, those second year seniors, they were called proctors, or those seniors that were in positions of power were proctors. They'd oversee these things. They'd oversee us doing this physical labor until we vomited, and then they'd have to keep going
Yeah.
because it builds their character.
Yeah.
So they were becoming the monsters that were breaking us.
That's so when I started filming my interviews, I interviewed 8 people. What was clear was that like the survivors of CEDU were, and it was Cascade and CEDU people that I interviewed. And there had been like in them like the 70s and the 80s, and they weren't ever traumatized by staff. It wasn't ever that staff were the ones that the words that they said. It was what the older student girls had said.
I'd say our staff was equally as like the Gald
Well,
family was
you
traumatizing.
had heavy hitters that are like family names that continue to
that continued this lineage of trauma and abuse under the guise of educational and character reform. But like
which
Chris
is very CEDU too. There's like when you
should
tell
not
me the
cause
story
generations of PTSD.
like the story of like Joe Gald and all the family lineage and all that stuff, like that could be a Mad Libs. Like if we could make a Mad Libs, you know what I mean? And like trade words, like seriously, like I'm not.
You're right, and just sub in like Hurd and Gald and Joe and Malcolm.
Like it could be Cross Creek or CEDU, like any fucking TGI school, like and the yeah, seriously, we could easily make a really like a Mad Libs that's like yeah.
I see that. Pick your verb, pick your noun, pick your pronoun, and each of us would have the same story but different internal details.
No, but it's even just about how incestuous the fucking family lineages of these places are, and that they like also like get their children. It's that they always get their own children to be staff.
Well, I told you that. So she wasn't staff, but their own child was the poster girl of my I wouldn't say it was my class, but she was there while I was there. 2 years ahead of me, and she was the poster child of Hyde, and it was their daughter.
No, there's I know at least one, ex-staff child that was like put through their program and then became like staff for every troubled teen industry school. I know
That's horrifying.
Yeah.
But that could be good too, because I mean, then you have the keys to the kingdom. If you think about it, you can see the internal workings. Because I know a lot of people, like staff now or like parents now, that are coming forward and like, I can't believe I did this. I didn't realize what I was doing, or I didn't realize I was hurting my child this way. I'm so sorry. You guys are strong. And it's a lot of the parents whose childs have honestly passed for one reason or another.
Those are the only ones that get it. Right. And yeah, their
father doesn't get it. Like, it's very public. I'm in the middle of a lawsuit. I can't talk about the details of it, but I asked my dad if he would write a letter, and my dad goes, well, it wasn't that bad.
I have so much shit saved on my phone from my father saying the most fucked up shit to me.
Are you kidding? Like, bro, no. Like, I hate to say it that way, but I have to, bro.
No, because my father's a genius psychiatrist. Like, my dad invented a therapeutic process that cured people's fear of flying.
Yeah, he told me about that. That was nuts. So my dad's like a god in the toll systems industry. You can't be that inept socially.
That's the whole thing.
That's powerful.
We mostly come from money, and we mostly come from very high, it's like these people are experts and they're trying to tell you that oh, I spent over $100K on my daughter getting abused. There's no fucking way that's real.
Exactly.
First of all, but however old our parents were, the previous things that were available before the troubled teen industry was lobotomies.
Yeah, I joke.
We didn't get lobotomies. That's literally what a fucking letter my dad wrote to somebody I went to CEDU with, when a girl that I went to CEDU with tried to reach out to my father as a therapist and try to get to him and be like, CEDU fucked up Kari. This is why. And she sent me the emails that he sent back. Like, she didn't send me the emails that she sent to my dad, but she sent me the replies that my dad sent to her. And basically, it was I couldn't, yeah.
So they couldn't kill our brain, so they tried to break it and remeld it.
Yeah, and so my dad's because basically my dad's well, Kari didn't get a lobotomy, so, oh, you guys can't listen to some music? Oh, big deal.
That's not, no. That's like the sugar-coated bullshit version of the truth. And that's very much from an outsider, because I was saying, and I didn't mean to interrupt you earlier, what Chris told me.
We're going to do that all the time, because when we talk, it's like we're vibrating at the same thing, and we'll say things that'll be like, you just said something I can't believe nobody's ever said before, and you said it 15, you know what I mean? We're like hummingbirds.
But what Chris said is character building, like you said, doesn't leave generations of people with CPTSD. There's no way that you can explain that. If this was character building, then why are there generations and how many countless people that have this diagnosis now?
Did you guys have a character stretch at Hyde where you had to be a character and act something out and step out of your square and
yes.
possible dream and and then after you acted up something so ridiculously, were you lifted up and music was played and you were celebrated?
So kind of, sort of. So we had these things, I remember they were character development seminars or whatever, and they make you get up in front of the school and sing a song. And I'm tone deaf. I can't sing. So I remember having to do this, and I kept refusing and refusing and refusing and refusing. But then after, they didn't lift us up in the air, but they'd cheer us on and make it a big thing. Even if it was the worst thing you ever heard, you'd have to sit there and it would yay, all that. And it would be voracious, the
right.
Ferocious, the whole room. It was a roar of applaud because you had the courage to do it.
So that's the whole thing in the MKUltra stuff. When you read about they were trying to figure out how to force euphoria on people without drugs.
That makes sense, though.
And because the whole thing, the schools from WASP never had that euphoric part of their fucking programming.
Interesting.
Yeah, they don't get that. They never got that shit.
Okay.
And I think that's actually the first time I've said that aloud, and like,
This
but
will get edited.
that's no. Actually, I won't edit it, but that's the whole
Okay.
thing. Can't like because RMA did have that euphoria part of it too.
Rocky
But
Mountain, you're talking
Rocky
about,
Mountain
right?
Academy, yeah,
Okay,
yeah, yeah.
cool. Because I'm still catching up with like the lingos.
There's a lot of us, girl. Yeah, and
I
yeah,
know. I know. And then Landmark, I didn't even know that that was part of the school until yesterday. And I went down a whole rabbit hole in Landmark and I'm like, oh my
and
God.
Denmark's just out in the fucking world. It's like
Like, how did it exist? Like my therapist said, how are these places accredited?
it's that's the whole thing. Even if they're accredited, like when I was on the Cult Vault, like they were like, because it's ever like there's like this is like it's like, oh, what are like are you going to close down every troubled teenager school? It's like, no, there should be hospitals or things with specialized things for whatever, you know what I mean? It's not like
Agreed.
but the troubled teen industry is both the orphanages of an America, but it's gotten involved where that like it's also like how poor people make money, because if you are a foster parent and then you figure out if you have 10 kids, you can also get money for having all those 10 kids while sending them all to Cross Creek or
You're really not wrong.
for years. And then this is all fucking completely legal. This was all portrayed in the second and third episode of the program on Netflix too. Like Catherine Kubler fully exposed this, and it's like so. And then it's also that in Teen Torture Inc. is that Evan Wright fully explained that the seed, which was when I read the fucking Wikipedia for the seed, I was like, that is the most MK Ultra fucking shit it was like the seed was closed down because when they looked at it, it was known that they used the same tactics that they did for in the Korean War. Like it was
Prisoner
like,
of war stuff.
yeah, and it was
That's what
like,
you tell me.
but then when you look to the article that was referencing how they knew it, this was pre the subcommittee report of the MK Ultra from 1976. This was from like 1972 or 4.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's like the seed was like the most governmenty MK Ultra school, and it's so much so that it just changed names, and it's still like it's the most, and I like but the entire war on drugs, like the DARE campaign, this is your brain on drugs, like the entire 80s, like
the Rachel Lee Cook frying pan video, the
yes,
commercial.
all of
Shit.
those funded a set of schools.
That's so upsetting.
Yeah, so the entire like making the world afraid of like if your kid tries pot once that they need to go to be reprogrammed by the fucking government.
Yeah, they fearmongered them.
That was a part of this. That's all because the Reagan or the Carter, Reagan, and Bush administration had ownership in the Straight Inc. in the seed. The seed changed into Straight Incorporate, like Straight Inc.
I saw that was related, yeah.
And then it also changed into a bunch of stuff, but that's still running. But it was all like funded by presidents' wives, so that it wasn't political. So it was like, Carter's what I don't remember, but I just
no, I know what you're saying. It's like they dabble in different humanitarian things, so they're not like politically like fueled, but they're still able to have their charitable good causes. Michelle Obama did a lot of it with the school lunches, for example.
Right. Yeah, Michelle Obama did good with it.
Yeah, she did good, but the school lunches was a great program that she did. So now that you're saying they did the same thing in a bad way with Straight Inc.
Well, because they actually, I mean, they might not have fully known.
How could you be part of something and not know?
Because it's how this is how happens still today. True. It's You're like true. That's the whole thing.
How is Hyde still open?
It's that like when like me and like other people talk about, we're like, how the fuck is Hyde still around? Like seriously, like that's the word. Like everyone knows about the other ones or whatever. Like Yours has
They
been.
they must have some type of something somewhere that makes it where, or maybe because, like I said, for so long, they weren't considered troubled teen industry. They skirted a lot of this because they were a boarding school. You know what I mean? Maybe now they're just starting to get their time. I don't know. But what I know is that it should not be open and it should not be around. And that is the whole reason I started screaming into a void.
No, because the whole thing is that, I get a lot of flack because I'm making a CEDU documentary. What am I doing talking to, you know what I mean? But it's, like my co-producer, he's like he's the first interview in my little sizzle reel for my Kickstarter that failed. He's always like, what are we doing? Like, are we just gonna make a CEDU documentary or whatever? And he's like, he's like, what's the point of like, I'm like, Jonathan, if they're still doing the fucking profits out there, we have to stop that. And he's like, yeah, you're right. Like, and that's the whole thing is that
I love that.
it's like, because it's also, it's like, well, are they, yeah, I can't stop everybody like beating kids or like, whatever. But if there's somebody that's fucking making kids stay up 4 days, forcing some fucking, forcing crying, forcing, them confessing the things they didn't do. Like,
yeah, we had to do those things. We had Brother's Keeper. That was our.
They make you stare at each other in the eye, super up close for like. Yep. Yeah, sometimes. Like all that weird shit that makes you autistic as adults, as it turns out, because we're all fucking proof of it. I mean, it's the funniest.
You're not
shit.
wrong. How many of us are autistic?
No,
you're not wrong. And
my friend Angela Kingdon, this autism specialist, who I only met because we were both on our friend Ann Peterson's fucking podcast called Confronting the Line. She's like, I'm like, yeah, a lot of survivors are, I think that they were autistic before, but we all are kind of now, but we're not, but,
we are, but we don't look like we are, but we definitely are.
Because she's like, getting offended at the way that I talk about it. Like, because I'm saying like, we have autistic traits. And he's like, you can't say that. She's like, there's no such thing as autistic traits. And I'm like, I'm not autistic. I fucking swear to you. But we just, we identify as, because we don't have filters to our mouths. We were, and I don't think I was autistic before, but I'm fucking sure that I passed for it 100%.
So, autism has like hit points. It's like borderline. And I didn't think I was borderline for a long time. And I just got that diagnosis a couple months ago. But autism, I got diagnosed in the time of COVID. Like right around COVID, I went through testing.
Supposedly, like you can only get diagnosed for autistic like when you're a teenager.
So you could get later onset adult autism, but it's kind of like, what is the root source of it? So that's what I was saying. Like they look at it like, is it CPTSD? Is it borderline? Is it autism? Is it unmet needs? Because it's all kind of, all three are in this weird trifecta ball in the medical DSM that
because one of the things they were fucking trying to do in MKUltra was see if they could force autism onto people.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. It's the funniest thing is that Jonathan's like, this isn't MKUltra. You keep saying MKUltra. I'm like, yeah, you want to prove it to me? Keep reading and come back to me. Because he's like, oh, like, yeah, God, because I try to prove me wrong. And every time I'm looking at it, I just prove myself. And I'm like, I keep growing a callus in my brain of being able to continue reading now. And the fact that I can continue reading this shit and it makes more and more sense is fucking scaring me more and more.
I didn't realize they were trying to force autism. I haven't really gone fully into like the depths that you have. I just started looking at the parallels and I'm like, well, they brainwashed us. They used Brother's Keeper on us. They used this on us. They did this on us. Like, and then like I looked at is Hyde a cult? Like, no offense. Like I ran this through algorithms. Like, is Hyde a cult? And all of the hit points of what they say modern cults are, it hits as well.
It's like ding, 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 ding. Yeah.
Past the 2 weeks, 3 weeks, like, what's really going on in my life? Like, was I indoctrinated without my consent as a child and then fucked up my
Oh my fucking God. I'm so sorry. So like I just woke your ass up and we're still talking. It's so fucking funny.
Because I tell you, you're one of the few people that makes sense. And like I told you, I had to go to my therapist and be like, this is the same therapist I was seeing before the pink slip, and be like, bro, please don't pink slip me. But have you heard of MKUltra? And he goes, yes, I have. And then he starts Googling, wondering how the fuck these schools existed.
Tell him to fucking call me. Like, you can tell you're like, you're a doctor, whoever this person is, like, I would like.
He asked for your name. He asked your name because he was going to go look at your podcast.
You can like send him my episode of the Cult Vault.
Okay.
I was a scholar on the Cult Vault. Vault.
I love it.
Vault, after it came out, when Casey aired it, I listened to it 30 times in a row. And you know what it was? In those, I'm sure there was a time where, you know, they made me do a crazy like speech. Like I had to, like in the character building, we had a thing called a values challenge, right? To go up in front and memorize a fucking speech about and say it in front of the fucking class, right? And I had a huge cold sore when I had to do it too. When I was on the Cult Vault, I had a tiny bit of a cold sore.
Oh,
and when I listened to it, I was like, I won. Because all I did in the last half hour of the Cult Vault was fucking word my life making the documentary very fucking carefully on a world-known #1, podcast. Like,
that's amazing.
And Casey afterwards was like, you know, she's like, I don't like what you're saying. Like, you keep me out of the infighting, you know, whatever. It's like, I know it's because she wants people that work with Unsilenced to be on the podcast.
Oh.
And it's, you know, and it's, you know, like, I would like to come back on the Cult Vault, but if I have to use that as my tool to get around the fucking cult expert community, I will until you know, I'm okay, basically.
But like, you keep in mind, I didn't know Hyde was a cult because where does it say when you Google my school or my old school that it's a cult? Where does anyone draw that parallel?
It's not, right, because because it's a fucking running school that like insurance pays for, you know.
Because I haven't met you and nobody broke it down like that. And like, I'm still friends with some people from Hyde. I am, from when I went. And like I said, I did the 48 hours because of Hyde. But like, I don't have any friends from Hyde that will speak positively about Hyde. You know what I mean? And the people that I still communicate with, nobody has a positive experience. And I mean, I'm talking about girls that were in my class on my campus in my year.
Right. But it's because I understand it, because I know a lot of people that like I graduated with, like, like there's an astounding amount of suicides that happened to people that I knew there. Like it's good fucking.
I think we're at over 150 from Hyde School alone, and that doesn't seem like a lot, but when the class is like 40 kids every year total from every grade, when you talk about 150, that's a lot.
We just had a death, you know, and from what the Facebook, you know, this Facebook, it seems like it might have been a suicide, which means we call it suicide. Yeah. What was I saying? But in my peer group, there was one death. There's one kid that was Daniel Levin but he was like, he was severely mentally not there. And he kind of got thrown into our peer group, and like, we didn't even know why he was there. He was like, and it was like, and he died of like, you know, I don't even, it wasn't like suicide after, you know, or whatever. But besides that, I can account for everybody that I graduated with, and there was like 15 of us that graduated together, except for, you know, I don't remember.
So you had super small classes too.
Yeah, and we were like super tight. But the people that kill themselves are usually the ones that didn't graduate.
I haven't noticed that particularly. I haven't really looked into that, but I know that the two girls that I'm still kind of like, we're still in touch, like our connections, like we don't talk regularly, but we're still like mutuals on like Facebook or Instagram. And we have like, we're friends. They're still alive, but I don't really know a lot of people from the school like that, because when I left the school, other than the people that lived where I lived back in Northern Virginia, like I told you, that I knew from school because they do our demographic family subgroups with,
Right.
as our homerooms. Like, other than those people, and I moved from Virginia like 5 years ago, I don't really know anyone, and I don't actively try to communicate with people that I know have traumatized me.
So there's something very specific about Hyde that I want to explain. That when they brought you into Hyde, that you were in a group of people that were also from your section of America.
Yeah, so like I don't know if mine was like the Northeast region or whatever, because keep in mind they're very small classes. So this wasn't by like year, this was by the whole school. And then you had your discovery groups and your family weekends, and they'd throw you in there with everybody in a close proximity to you so the parents could have a support system too outside of the school.
Right. So this is why yours is super, super culty, because it made it so there were family members that were going through your seminars or discoveries or whatever,
Yes.
and they were like strangers, but you would probably see them in real life shit.
Yes. So
Because they were in your fucking state or whatever. Yeah.
so, or locally, yeah. So like mine was like DC, Maryland, Virginia. There might have been like, I don't know, West Virginia. I don't know if we had anyone from there, for example, but like, so when for example, like these parents would also have to admit like what they did, how they failed us, all that. So we'd be doing all this in front of like each other. And then I'd go home and I'd go to brunch with my mom, and there's bro that I was in, one of these family weekend groups with, and I had one of these seminars type contract type work with. So not only did this kid know all my dirty business from school because we'd work together often in these groups outside of it, but when our parents came, he'd know everything going on in my home and me and his, and it was the most uncomfortable shit ever.
Right. And that's the whole thing, is that a lot of people have given me shit because, I have a hard time just not saying stuff, or like, and it's like we have to, like a lot of the worst stuff that we have to remember is just like, remembering what they forced us to confess to, or like, or just
Yep.
was knowing why all those kids got sent, like all the embarrassing things that those parents were like, oh, just got to get reprogrammed.
Yep.
So it's like, oh, all those embarrassing rich people secrets, fuck, man. Like, and that's also the kind of thing. It's like, that's why we're dangerous to other people. It's like, oh, what are they gonna do?
And you know what the worst part was? Like looking back, like my dad, this great guy, right, who went there with me and this, that, and the other. Because when I left there, remember I told you I tried to kill myself at Hyde after I ran away and was raped, and I got blamed for my rape because I needed to take accountability to build my character. And I can say it so flat because I'm working in therapy, but it's almost like a robot saying it, and it's not me.
And girl, I have a friend of mine saying basically that fucking same thing.
Yeah,
but in an interview. Do you know what I mean? Like the same thing happened to a friend of mine. You know what I mean?
What I can say is, like, my dad carried on an affair the whole time I was there, and he never divulged it once. So here we are being broken and rebuilt and all this stuff, and there our parents, who are supposed to be the role models, can't even follow the program.
Right.
So how are we as children supposed to follow this program? And then the other thing I wanted to bring up, did your school do something? So we had Brother's Keeper, where if you did something, you had to confess it. But not only that, if you knew someone else did it and you didn't confess it on them, you were not a good person. Not you were a snitch or a narc. You were a bad person, and you were not developing your character.
Oh, no. Because that's when you had to take somebody to a rap and fucking make and call them out on it. Because if you didn't, like if you knew dirt, that was called dirt. Like if or contract or whatever. Like if
same type of thing. Yes.
If you knew somebody was dirty and you didn't fucking
that's what they called it, dirty.
If that wasn't told to staff. So my peer group, we left with the biggest middle finger to CEDU, because when we got like to our older student dorms, they changed the rules because we moved.
Something weird's going on with my camera. Hold on.
It's okay.
There we go. Sorry.
And basically the last like 2 months, me and my peer group were like off like in an older student campus. We were all like fucking 69 and smoking cigarettes and like doing all this crazy shit, like wild stuff, like listening to the radio and woo, you know what I mean? You know, and it was and so it was like we were getting away with it too. And then there was like 8 of us, six or 7 or 8 of us went to a rap. You know, 3 times a week give that, you know, a group, you know, the group, you know, attack therapy or whatever this, you know.
I think we had something similar and I never realized it, but keep going. Yeah.
But so before staff even got into the room to like run the rap, a girl named Alana Blackman, this awesome girl from Chicago, she had just gotten there. She was from Discovery. She got sent there by her church for gang activity.
No.
And it was like, how did she get to CEDU? Because it was like she was like saved by her church, but it was like her first like time that she like talked to her, she's like, oh, I've fucking shot guns. It was like we knew that she'd been in fucking, you know, drive-by shootings. This was a girl that's definitely killed people before. You know what I mean? Like this is like, you know what I mean? But she was fucking hilarious. She was like amazing. I think it was like her dorm head for a little while. She
Okay.
had a lot of fun with me. It was really funny. But so she so there was this whole rap. She walked up to a whiteboard and she wrote, "Summit is dirty." So like you know, that's what the level would like, and so that, and she just sat down. So staff walked in, saw it, so Summit is dirty, and we were all like, "We're fucked. How the fuck did she how the fuck did she you know?" But it was like, yeah, it was the whole thing of you became cold readers. You knew when people were hiding secrets. You knew.
That's what we were talking about. We're like human lie detectors now as a result.
Yeah, yeah. You just know human behavior when they're hiding things or when they're uncomfortable about things, because we had to watch 100 kids all at the same time.
Can you see it in their breath pattern too? Because I was telling my husband this. Like I can see it in someone's eyes and breath pattern, and I get it in a feeling, like a gut feeling. And that's what I was telling you. I say like trauma calibrated, but you're not wrong. They made us human lie detectors.
It's not even like, I mean,
It's not perfect, but most of the time the gut instinct is more accurate than not when I listen to it.
Yeah, it's that somebody like, oh, I'm talking to somebody and I'm like, I think they're lying. And if that ever happens to me, I usually should fucking stay the fuck away from that person. And it's like there's a couple people that I like kind of keep in my life, like, and it's like I just know they're pathological liars, and I just don't, you know, I just can't, you know what I mean? Like yeah.
I feel like for me that's more family, because I'm getting to this point where my social circle is so small it's a dot, and I'm okay with that because I have to protect my peace at this point.
I have my father blocked from my life.
Oh shit. See,
You know,
so like I
yeah,
haven't talked to
blocked.
mine in like a year.
No, my boyfriend talks to my father for me, because that's the only way that I can function. Because if I don't, if my father isn't blocked from my cell phone, from everything, he will send me stuff that makes me literally want to just call, you know, I just was able to quit smoking like a week ago because I was so suicidal from, you know, my father.
I'm so sorry.
No, because it's that, like, you know, my dad's a very smart man. And my entire life, I've been trying to explain what CEDU was like. Because I love my dad, and he's a fucking smart guy. And, you know, we're really fucking close. We're both haters. We're both fucking Karens. Like,
as you say, proud Karens.
We're both super proud Karens. My father, he is so fucking funny that he says that if you voted for Bush both times, you can't be helped. So for his psychiatry of curing people's fear of flying, if he would screen people and he's like, "Oh, did you vote for Bush twice? I can't help you." So those people made a fucking website. And when I found it, I was like, "Dad, did you see this? All these people." He's like, "Oh, they've kept it up. Oh, I have to check this out." He was like his fucking favorite thing. He would go on it every day. He was so proud of it. He's like, oh, wait, they're just so mad. He's like, I can't help them. They're fucking lost. They bump it. God. He's like, it's also because he's like, he has a like, a 99% fucking success rate. So it's like, I can't help you. It's gonna fucking low, like.
I feel like I wish I could feel like that about my haters though. Like the people that like don't like me or don't want me to succeed or just cause problems when I just exist, which is how it feels. Like I wish I could look at it and laugh like that and think it's the greatest thing ever. But like, it's traumatizing.
I've lived like that my entire life because of my fucking father.
That's amazing.
That's like when I was super young, I was really hot and like I'm a fucking musician. As soon as I got out of CEDU, I was offered to play the Lilith Fair. And I was like, no. I was like, I don't want my first fans to be the same fan base as like all lesbian, it's just like, I was like,
That's cute.
Rock and roll. I'm like, what? There's a bunch of girls that couldn't play fucking Warped Tour or Lollapalooza.
I get
so
it.
They made their own fucking vagina fest. It's like, in the 90s, there was this whole like women in music. And it's like, yeah, so it was so gross. And so I got offered to play it twice and I said no both times.
Okay.
So I got, like there was times where like I got offered to do like modeling and stuff like that. And like my dad always was like, no, don't, like you're not doing that. Like, because he was like, there's always something about somebody that can, because I was always very smart. Like I always tested very high.
Yeah.
So like they would always like
it's a double-edged sword though. It's not always a good thing.
He's like, my boyfriend always asked, like, did you ever ride horses? I was like, I tried. I was like, because we come from, fucking moneyed areas in Connecticut.
Yeah.
And he's like, I asked my dad if I could ride horses once. And he's like, no, you don't want to be one of those horse girls that, that like around Connecticut. I'm like, fair, like, there's also like modeling. And he's like, can I model? And he's like, no. He's like, don't. It'd be so fucking awful for you to just take what like, you were just born with and just, make money off it. You're not gonna, that's gonna be, But yeah. So the fact that there's been so many times that I've explained to my dad about CEDU, and I thought he got it. Like, yeah, it was a cult, Dad. And he's like, but then he just, and then so seriously. This documentary is for my father. Like, okay. I mean, it was
that like, makes sense though. So he'll understand it in another term.
But it's gotten to the point where it's ruined. This documentary's ruined my life.
I'm so sorry. You did say that because the rabbit holes you've gone down and the things you've had to like open your mind to, like, it's a lot.
Well, no. So yeah, because the way that you were pink slipped my father. And I think somebody else, and I got pink slipped too for making this documentary. And they wouldn't let me leave until a fucking nurse took me on the roof. And he's like, listen, they're not going to let you fucking leave until you stop talking about your documentary. That's why.
They actually told, Jesus, that's why. When I was there, they thought my lawsuits that I was telling them about were fake and that I was crazy. And I was like, no, I was like, this is happening. This is happening. So it took my husband calling and being like, she's not lying. She's in the middle of this. This is all happening. You're triggering her trauma. This is what's occurring. And then they're like, oh, well, we're going to let her go on Monday.
No, the one thing, I have almost 30 pounds of documents from 1997 that were to build a brand new CEDU school. But I also have, only a couple pounds of fucking paper bags from my hospital stay at the Charlotte Hungerford Hospital of October of 2023 from the 10 days that I was institutionalized for trying to make it to survivor's prom. And that is harder for me to look at because
I can imagine.
Because I was writing down people's fucking names because I was like, I'm making a documentary about this. I'm going to call you about this. Like, because, when I was in there being locked up in the hospital, when knowing that like everything I was missing out on and that like, and that I was there for not being believed, like I was so so fucked.
That's like re-traumatizing on its own, to be honest. Like that's
no, and
re-triggering to all the original triggers.
I woke up and it was because my father got involved too. So because my father, I was like, because what I did was I went to my dad's house and I was like, Dad, I'm going to California. I'm going to a thing called Survivor's Prom. My best friend since I was 21, my friend AP's letting me stay at his place. My little brother's paid for the fucking ticket. My older brother Griffin, who's also a survivor, he's coming with me. And my older brother Griffin went to Rocky Mountain Academy and Ascent and Northwest Academy. In the middle of when I was at CEDU, which was crazy. But and when I told my dad that, he called 911 and 211 over and over again and was like, my daughter's going to kill herself. You should, and he didn't want me to go out there. So yeah, I went to the hospital after they told me they fucking tranquilized me and I hit my eye. And so all of a sudden they were worried that I might have brain damage. So they knocked me up for 3 days.
Oh,
so they
Jesus.
put me on a bed. So all of a sudden I was like getting ready to go to Survivor's Prom. Then I was in a, hospital video messaging Lathrop Liebrook, who is my Lex Luthor of the, I was video messaging them like, because Lathrop was supposed to stay with me for that week in California.
Okay.
Like, hey, Lathrop, I'm about to get maybe fucking thrown in a psych ward for trying to make it to Survivor's Prom. You might have to find somewhere else to stay. And I was also like trying to calm myself down, like making a joke of it. And also, this is fucking footage for my documentary. And she has fucking used that to vilify me like you would not believe.
I feel like unfortunately a lot of people vilify each other for reasons that they shouldn't within the survivor community. And like
she looks crazy. And it's like
I feel like people are doing that to me too.
Activism. And this is also like, if this isn't what fucking social media is for, if like, we can make fun of fucking TikTok and like, everyone like doing like, oh, there's no such thing. Like, it's like, if we can't figure out how to fucking use, the algorithms to fucking do, then what the fuck have we all been doing our entire life?
Agreed. And if social media can't be the advocacy, if social media can't be advocacy and we're sitting here fighting each other about stupid things, how is anybody supposed to give a fuck about our cause, to be honest? How are they supposed to give a flying fuck nugget?
Like, have you watched the program yet?
I told you, I've tried to watch it. I've gotten through like an episode. I can't get all the way through it. And it's not that it's good or bad or
it's just too hard.
It's just, it's hard because like I didn't really get through Team Torture Inc. either.
Oh, that one's good because Evan's in it. And the third episodes are good. The third episode's a bunch of my friends in it.
Still working through like a lot. Like this is the first podcast I've done, but like I told you, I did 48 hours almost a decade ago, and I talked about the 2-4, the labor crew, and I did the Cope Ministry about 2021, and that's when I finally came forward about my rape and everything.
Well, I thought it was 48 hours, but I saw that other one, the more recent one, and when I saw that, I was like, who the fuck was the bitch that was fucking walking around the goddamn campus with fucking camera crew? Like, I was like, you were the one that stuck out to me the most. And it was like, when you were reposting it, I was like, no fucking way. Like,
they tried to kick us off actually, and I'll tell you, like, I don't know if you could tell how visibly like shaken I am, but like it was not easy doing that.
No, I could tell. Yeah.
And that's before I really found a voice. Like you say like Trauma Barbie and the debriefs and stuff. That's more when I found my voice. I was still shaking, trying to make an impact then that really didn't make an impact, but I've been building it for probably like a decade now. And it's time. It's time for things to change.
Because I had a bunch of the Facebook groups. But then when I was off Facebook for 5 years, all my Facebook groups got taken over. Okay. But like, when Adam Egget was on the Joe Rogan Experience talking about the Facebook group that he figured out that CEDU was called, that was my fucking Facebook group, and I'm going to punch him in the mouth for fucking not mentioning it. So next. because I'm hoping to interview, like, this documentary's not over until I interview my friend Adam Egan, because he's a fucking wildly fucking famous comedy booker.
Okay.
And Norm Macdonald wrote this book about him.
Awesome.
It is like, it's the fucking funniest things. My boyfriend, bought this book, and I'm like, I'm reading it, and I'm like, Adam Egan is every other word. Like, Adam Egan is that's when you moved to Regency House, right, Norm? Yes, that's right, Adam Egan. Remember, like, like Adam Egan is like in every fucking paragraph.
Got it.
It's a memoir that it's like a biography, an autobiography about Norm Macdonald's life.
That's
but
awesome.
It's also a full-on roast to a friend of mine from fucking CEDU.
That's funny.
And this friend, this friend is my best friend from CEDU. It's somebody that he was best friends with.
Okay.
So what was funny was that when I was at CEDU, mostly what people remember me is that me and Jackson were super in love, but there were nobody was allowed to have feelings for each other.
Yeah, no, they discouraged relationships too. Highly, highly discouraged them. Either
Right.
on campus, off campus, or back home.
So I was so programmed that I did not love Jackson Nash. No. That there is no way that a fucking rock star's child is going to ever love me. You know what I mean? But it wasn't even that. It was like, CeDU would like, because I wasn't allowed to talk to Jackson if I had shown any outward signs of flirtation when we interacted. You know, when Jackson actually graduated and was like starting to write love letters to me, I was like, knock that shit off. Like, I was like getting mad at him. Like, it took him a long time to even like kiss me, because it was like we were programmed to not,
Yeah.
So it was
That makes me sad. There's a boy when I was at Hyde. His name was Ross. He actually was from like my area back home. He was like the sweetest guy, and like we weren't allowed to have feelings for each other. We weren't allowed to like each other. They programmed you're not allowed to do that. So I mean, I get that, but I wasn't in love. I wasn't sad like yours. Like, that sounds so heartbreaking. That was your first like chance at a possibly healthy relationship.
Oh, but it's funnier too, because when I talk to people from CEDU, they're always like, oh, so are you married to Jackson? Is a funny thing. I'm like, Jesus Christ. But it's also like they see that like Jackson is like, married, he's a bunch of kids, like, and that I've hung out with Melissa, and like I love her. They're like, oh, is there any jealous? I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? No. There's like,
but that's awesome. That's what maturity does too. That's maturity. It should be that way. You need to be petty.
Jackson is like, you can try to hate Jackson Nash. One of somebody that I interviewed, this guy Nick, when he got to CEDU and he knew that like, oh, Graham Nash from Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young, like his son, this gorgeous fucking guy that everybody laughs at. Like, Jackson was like the fucking, he wasn't just, he was a rock star son, but he was really charismatic. He was super funny, and he was really artistic and funny, and like Steph he got a bit of like a different kind of treatment because of who his father was. It took a little while to even understand it, but he's so funny that like anybody in my life who has, tries to hate him and interacts with him, they end up like, my best friend Meg, who I brought to his island, like, oh, like in a week or two, she's bringing her new husband to meet Jackson because they have to be all friends. Like, Jackson.
Okay, so he's a cool guy. Like, wins people over.
Beings on the planet. Like, he's just
awesome.
like. But like, that's the whole thing, is that CEDU made people like that.
So you think that was CEDU?
So like CEDU, it's like, so when I talk to you, I was like, this is like talking to another fucking superhero. Is that like CEDU made people fucking special.
Do you think that Hyde gave people what they called life skills and character building, but it was something that I don't know, because I don't understand why I always feel so different. And maybe it's not just Hyde that's that, but it's a large contributor.
You didn't graduate though, right?
I did not. No, I went from summer challenge my junior into sophomore year. I started my sophomore year there at the beginning of the year. And like you could see when I walked back on the campus, I think that's kind of why I did it for the closure. I had run away and I got raped, like I said, and then I got blamed for it. And then I got kept for Thanksgiving, which is what was called in-post. We had in-post and outpost. Outpost, they send you to this island in the middle of Eustis, Maine called Seguin, make you run up and down on rocks. It was wild. I did not have to do that. But when I was being watched over Thanksgiving break because I couldn't go home as punishment because of my rape and running away and all that, I had like a bunch of second year seniors and some really young staff still on campus. So I overdosed and I tried to die.
Yeah.
And I was carted out of the campus. And that's when I finally got home because I was going to die or I was going to get out.
And so that's how you got out, is by
trying to overdose and die.
Good girl. I mean, that's what you have to fucking do. So yeah, good job. I mean, because
I didn't know that. I was ready to be done because they didn't, even after my rape, they didn't get me any actual counseling. I didn't get any actual therapeutic counseling when I got brought back to campus. I was just ridiculed and devoured by the students and staff.
Wow. So you, because yeah, getting kicked out of those places is a fucking, it's a, you should, I feel like there should be a goal, like a certain, medal, stamp of valor for survivors, but that achieve certain things like that.
I just didn't, I didn't know how else to do it. And I was pleading with them. I was telling them like, I was crashing. Like I couldn't survive. Like I wasn't surviving. It was a nightmare. And then to wake up with the people that were supposed to be there taking care of me and loving me and telling me it's okay, I was getting blamed and ridiculed and slut shamed.
Yeah.
So it was really fucked up.
Yeah. No, like the only like I had an easy ride because my mom died after I got there a month later. My mom died, so like they were like, oh shit, and but it was CEDU was helpful because I got to use that to cry. I had something to cry about because they always wanted you to cry about something.
Well,
So
that's unfortunate.
The only thing that I got yelled at was I had to tell my friend Allie Karn when we got in touch about making a documentary. It was like, Allie, just the only real trauma I have from CEDU is you telling me, you're fucking Jackson in the woods, and all we know about you is that your mom died. What are you really for? And and it's like, and I'm like, and it's like, she's like, oh, I'm like, I'm just telling you that because it's hysterical. Just, like, I don't fault you, you know what I mean? It's just that, like, that's how ridiculous CEDU was, is that, like, yeah. But, they haven't wanted us to talk. The survivor community has not wanted fucking Hyde people and CEDU people.
I understand why no one from Hyde that had a bad experience people have come forward. Don't let me say that. People have come forward, but I don't understand why nobody's like come forward and been willing to speak to you, because I don't understand that, because honestly, like, it's wild to me. But I do think, like we were talking about, there's a level of programming where Hyde people feel like talking about Hyde publicly is going to harm them somehow. And I don't care.
Well, because it's still around. Because your school is still around. My school's fucking dead. My school is on a box.
I'm hoping that in 20 years this place changed if it's still around. I am just praying to God things have changed, because if students are going through what I went through now, I don't know how the fuck this place is open.
They probably fucking are.
And then that's where it makes me mad. Like, the only thing I want out of everything that I'm screaming and I'm writing, I want this school shut the fuck down.
That's the thing, is that if they're doing fucking behavior modification, fucking character building, fucking seminars, if they are doing things where they're like making children, no.
Things without their will, if they're doing the family things, all of it.
They wouldn't make adults, if they try to make adults pay money to go through this in cults, or if they wouldn't do this to fucking, No, if this is if you're there's some sort of secret thing that you don't know your children's going through, fucking no. This like there should be no reason why can't have fucking webcam on every fucking child for the rest of their if they ever go away. Like
I know my children went to daycare. They had webcams. I could tap into them. Why do your parents send you 6 states away? And by the way, this is my other thing I mentioned to you. Who the fuck had custody of me? Like, was I custody? Did the school have custody of me? Did Malcolm Guld have custody of me?
yeah,
Did the
no,
state of Maine?
it was probably a residential facility or like a residential school or a boarding school, and so yeah, it's that like
It's disturbing because they had to follow no laws in the state of Maine. And when I filed high tech to get my records, like I told you, I got 1 page of my transcript and how many days I was on 2-4. That's it.
Yeah, no, there's no the high school diplomas. If you graduated high school from CEDU, the only way that if they're like a lot of people just immediately went into college or CEDU was still active, so they were able to fumble it through whatever. But as soon as CEDU is like there are I know of about 50 fucking people from CEDU that are their lives are fucked up because they don't have a high school diploma.
Yeah, you were saying that. And then like the accreditation. The other thing that I don't understand is like, and I want to preface this, like, even though the lawsuit is still active, there's certain things that I can't really say other than it is active. But what I can say is when I came forward about it, it's because the state of Maine decided to change the law, not the facts of the survivors' cases. They changed the law. So the law says that because my rape was over 10 years old now and they closed that back door, and because the forced federal child trafficking and labor laws was over 10 years ago, I don't have a claim. But I would have never had a claim because even if I figured this out soon enough after I left the school, I wouldn't have filed by the time I was 22. And that's under the 10 years. They would have destroyed my records by then anyway. So this is how they absolve themselves of any accountability. And if they taught me one thing with character building, why can't they be accountable now?
No, yeah, it's the whole thing of it's not our fault that I've been trying to fucking scream about this my whole life. I've been saying, hey dad, I was in a cult. I was in a cult. I was in a cult.
And yours sounds crazy. CEDU sounds insane. I don't know if I could have done that.
So, but the thing that's good about my school is that it is known, like, because my school closed in 2005, and that right when YouTube came out, me and Jackson were hanging out in his apartment. We were just looking at YouTube. We're like, let's see if there's CEDU, whatever. And that's when we found Surviving CEDU, and Jackson at this point was like, oh, I was like, yeah, Jackson, CEDU was a cult, right? And he was like, I don't think it was a cult. And I was like, what? Like it took Doug Jackson a good 10 years.
I was gonna say it took me 3 weeks to realize.
No, like 2 weeks ago to today, right?
Yeah, basically, like it's been the past 3 weeks, and I'm like, what in the flying, holy
So
what?
You ever watched like Scientology documentaries and thought that reminded you of Hyde?
So I did, but like I never thought Scientology was like a cult because it's a religion, right?
Oh my fucking god, girl! How old are you again?
I'm coming to on a lot of this because like
So
I maybe I processed the trauma differently. Maybe I was like maybe I knew and that's why it clicked so fast, but I wasn't willing to admit it. Kind of like you're saying with your dad and my dad. Maybe they know, they're just not willing to admit.
So this is how I know. So when I graduated CEDU and I was there from 94 to 96. I graduated high school in 98, and then when the internet came out, I just found out what brainwashing was, and I was like, oh, that sounds like the Prophets. And then so I have this really fucking funny friend, Greg. Right?
Okay.
So I told Greg extensively about CEDU because his little sister and I used to be best friends before and after CEDU, and then we had a huge falling out. And then he always found me very fascinating because he knew that I went away to some weird programming place and that I was different afterwards. You know what I mean? So now we're best friends. So, so I had told him a bunch about CEDU, and so right when YouTube came out, he had found a student film that's how to start a cult. It's a student film that's like, I think it's just like do you want to start a cult or whatever. And it's like it's super obviously like a joke film, but as my friend was showing it to me, he was laughing his ass off because I kept being like, yeah, they did that. Yes, that's CEDU. Yep, they did that. Yep. Yeah, yeah. And I'm
So
like,
it was a funny story based in truth.
right, and I'm like, Greg, why is this funny to you? Like, is this supposed? He's like, because this isn't funny to you. This is supposed to be funny, just so you know. And I was like, oh, this isn't an educational video of like how to spot cults. And he's like, no, this is a student film. This is supposed to be a pair. This is. I'm like, oh shit.
Oh shit.
And so it's still online, and it's like it should be like, it's because it's like, do you do everything for the leader? Do you repeat mantras?
Yes.
Do do you all wear the same clothes? Do you, it's do you do everything?
We didn't have to wear the same clothes though.
It's like, because it's not always like, when I would tell my dad, like, see, there was a cult, he's like, you didn't have sex with the leader, so it couldn't be a cult. And I'm like, yeah, we were teenagers, but, it was like,
We were teenagers.
but, he's like, or it's just, it's because it doesn't fit certain criteria for, so my whole life, I've become a cult expert. Like,
Yes, you have. Literally.
Scientology fucking documentary. I've watched every TTI documentary that I can fucking put my eyes on. So the fact that like most of my friends, Rocky, I don't even think he still has watched the fucking program yet. And I interviewed him over a year ago because he went to Academy at Ivy Ridge, and I didn't even realize until months after I'd interviewed him that he was asked to be in the program, but he just wasn't ready yet. And I was like, shit,
I understand that though. I understand that because it's so weird. And then when you think like nobody's listening, you realize, oh shit, everybody's watching.
And so everyone's like, when you're posting stuff, oh, getting attention, I'm like, girl, you don't need to post anymore. They know about us. It's like, it's almost like, because it's almost like, it's like they're making you're like, you don't need, like, it's not like you're making us look crazy, but it's like, yeah, we don't need to, we are seen now. They know about us. There's movies, there's many fucking, like, yeah.
I feel like it's one of those things though, where like everyone also cleanses in a different way. Your documentary might be your cleanse, and
yeah,
like
your
like friend's cleanse might have been not being part of it.
And no, it was how I found you too, though. So that was very fucking important. So I am very glad of Trauma Barbie. I'm very glad for that tattoo. I'm glad for what it was done.
I'm happy for you and the friends that I've made along the way, because like I feel like people, like, even within the survivor community in life, everyone has ulterior motives, and ulterior motives scare the fuck out of me.
There we go. Yeah, and I am an open book girl. I do not lie.
You don't have the filter to like sit there and curate anything beyond what it is. And that's why I love, like, when I have my conversations with you. Now, sometimes I need to like decompress after them because I'm like, wow, that was a lot of information and she makes so much sense. And then I go down a rabbit hole and I'm like, holy shit, she wasn't like, this makes sense.
And that's the other thing. And that's what they'll use you. They've used that against me. Because I was so open about this documentary. I was like, hey, survivor community. I was Paris Hilton's big sister for a week when I returned as alumni. I knew her. Is she available? Because I would like to say hi. Like, you know what I mean? So I was like, I thought that this was, this, like, and like, I knew the people that were her fucking whatever.
Yeah.
And it got to the point where I was like, no one's ever gonna, besides the point of all the cult stuff, one get to talk to the people that supposedly do. I'm never gonna get to talk to her. Like, dealing with the survivor community and trying to like have
the gatekeeping is just interesting.
For a film for somebody that knew her for a week, it's never gonna happen. It's like it's super. It's like it's
clicky.
It's not even clicky. The funniest thing is, I do know somebody that met Paris Hilton recently. Do you want to know who it was? It was my fucking boyfriend's, like, one of my boyfriend's rock star fucking friends when he was playing at Coachella, and there was like, he was like, oh, like he found that like did you have fun like asking somebody's girlfriend did you have fun at Coachella? He's like, oh yeah, I got to meet Paris Hilton backstage, she was really nice. It's like, oh yeah, that's the only one that gets to meet Paris Hilton. It's somebody that's fucking in that cool person world. She is not associated with us, and it's always like everyone's trying to get to her ear to like be to get.
But I feel like it's maybe that's the old wave. We need the new wave. The new wave and the new ear needs to happen.
And that's what I've been saying.
Needs to be a collective ear of everybody in the swimming pool together, and nobody clawing each other to drown them while they're at the top. It needs to be.
When I said hashtag fuck Paris Hilton, it was because
I don't know.
We were all fucking herded like sheep to the fucking be a part of her bill, and she wasn't there. And that this had happened before.
Okay.
Like, this was that like because I was like, what the fuck is up with that video? Because I watched it 12 hours after everybody else watched it.
You told me about that.
I was like, you guys are just because I was the only one that like when they were standing there with fucking congressmen and senator whatever. And I was still, where's Paris? Is she showing up? Like, what, like, oh, great. And they were all like, but when I asked somebody and they're like, oh, they'd even thought that video was fucking recycled. And then I'd asked her fucking personal assistant.
Oh, no.
And they assured me that she had recorded it on Sunday night. Yet we saw it on Tuesday at like noon.
Interesting.
So she waited till like a few hours before the meetup time to fucking show it to everybody. I didn't know what the fuck I was going to do because I was like, I can't be a part of this. I can't believe that all of you guys.
Is that when you told me you left and you were like just blown?
Well, no. So, it was when me and this girl were fucking making our quote unquote, because we were making signs for the press conference that we were supposed to be a part of. And then this girl was like, I don't know why we're making these signs. There's not going to be a press conference because Paris isn't coming. And I'm like, of course she's coming. She's like, you still haven't watched the video. Because I wouldn't watch the video.
Okay.
And when I finally watched it, that's when I was like texting her personal assistant. I was like, are you fucking kidding me? She's not coming. You guys know that like my sanity is on the line because I was in a mental ward and they told me not to say her name. And you guys know my name. You know my number because we all have 203 numbers.
I feel like that was gaslighting to the 10th degree.
Her assistants are from Connecticut. We have the same 203 fucking numbers to our phones. So it's like, yeah, so it's like, because even like we were talking about the meetup for going to DC, and they were like, I was privately messaging Rebecca and Caroline, I guess, but mostly Rebecca, because I just knew Rebecca's name. And she's like, oh, if I don't message you, don't worry. Like, I know that, you're really important. I'm like, girl, I know you know who I am. I'm not fucking stupid. I'll be there. And I'll see you in a couple days. I'm fucking excited.
Gotcha.
You know what I mean? That's how, I was like, yeah, don't worry. I live in Connecticut. It was DC. I was one of the few people that this was drivable for me.
I grew up right in Northern Virginia. So like DC was like right next door. So I get it.
Yeah, and so
you
then
might
when
have been in DC when I was there.
and everyone that was in DC was like dressed up like they were gonna get their picture taken next to Paris Hilton. That, you know what I mean? And then what was
that might have been why.
Well, then the nice thing was that the fucking half the people that made the program were there. Was that when I walked in the building to try to fucking pee, I saw Catherine Kubler, and I was like, oh, huh. And then when I walked into the bathroom, I saw Nikki, who was the girl who got sent from Casa by the Sea to, she's, and I was like, I was like, oh, I was like, I'm not worthy. Like, I didn't know, because I couldn't remember her name. I just like, I did the Wayne's World, I'm not worthy to her. And she was like, well, I was like, you fucking saved the world. I'm like, I'm making.
She did.
Yeah. And so it was like, that was really cool to see, the people that, made, but then what was disgusting was to look at Facebook immediately afterward and see the people take selfies with the director or the people that were like really, big that were in the program and like say like heroes or like taking selfies, like just like, and like posting on Facebook just for like,
clap.
But it was also, it's like, well, Paris wasn't here. So we're not going to say anything because at least we got a selfie from Cap that, with Catherine. And it disgusted
I
me.
just feel like she broke the door open. Like the Paris
She
Nikki
did.
movement broke it opened the floodgate. That's the right word. And now the rest of us are running forward. So Paris ran so we could walk, but it's all of us and everyone matters.
And what was dangerous? So the video that I asked you to watch, and that you're remembering the story because I know that you watched the video because was
Yes.
that when I met Catherine Kubler after the talk, and I met like all the people that were in the program, they knew me. They knew my name. That they're like, oh,
That's
you're
wild.
you're
That's
making the
awesome
one
though.
about CEDU. We've read about CEDU, and like I was like, I'm like, my documentary is like, I want it to be a sequel to yours. Like I was like, I would even love to make the program origin story CEDU. So like
That would
make
be
it should be
amazing.
multiple seasons. You know what I mean? Because this is bigger story than just fucking 3 episodes. You know, we all know that.
Imagine if you did like even like a whole series and you covered all the huge schools. Imagine the other people that would come forward just in
That's
knowledge
what
that we might not even know that these schools exist, but here they are.
That's what I want to do. Like that's what my, I've never wanted to be like a filmmaker or whatever, but like I have a dream now is just to be like a producer,
A historian of this bullshit.
Yeah, because you have to find a fucking sexy way to fucking talk about this shit, and you have to think about it from like a true crimes aspect
You're
of
right.
like, and
Because that's going to get people interested. That's what's going to hook them. And it's not too far from that. I mean, if you really look at it, the connections and the parallels you found, it's not too far from that sexy story. But for those of us that lived it, it's just not sexy.
it's been the story's only been told by a bunch of like, Catherine did amazing, but
she did.
We gotta stop being unlikable fucking little girls. We gotta stop thinking you did beautifully in the way that you told me about, being Hyde. There's been so many people that use the power of throwing their breaking code silence story around to the point where like you just get this person is
I always thought the big orgs was the way to go, but I'm doing it on my own without the orgs, and I'm still getting a following and people are listening. And like I said, if I'm knocking on the right doors and those doors are looking at me and I'm opening them, then I'm doing something that I set out to do, and that's my only goal. Get this place shut the fuck down.
Yeah, but the big problem is that is that
I don't claim any org. I haven't been supported by an org. I haven't been in that advocacy world. I haven't been welcomed or invited, but at the same time, I'm doing okay on my own.
Neither was I. And that was like, I was like, hey, I want to make a movie. Let's make one. I fucking flew out to LA and I was like calling all the survivor community, like all the Katie Mack and Hannah Kay. I was like, hey, show up like in my director's fucking house. Here's the address. I'm having other people call them and be like, why won't you show up for Kari's documentary? Like, you know what I mean? Like, this is really weird.
I feel like it's the same thing. So like I was asked, through a mutual that I know to do a carousel for On Silence to kind of railroad Hyde's. They did a tour outreach and they were trying to get new applicants and new people. And I wanted to prevent it. So I was like, okay, Trauma Barbie, at it. # Trauma Tour Bus 2025. And I was going to do a carousel for Unsilenced. And when that was happening too, was around the time the pink slip happened and the gatekeeping. And I was just like, I'm doing it on my own.
Yep. Unsilenced is,
it wasn't them personally, but like it was a third party through them. And I felt like, to me, being platformed like that in a way where my story got out could help other people. Since Hyde hasn't really had a lot of stories come out, I thought it could help. But now I'm just kind of like, no, I'm okay doing it on my own.
You saw when you saw Jenna's fucking website that she made.
Yeah. And I think it's ironic that I was talking with Jenna actually, and I was like, did you see this? And I showed her who viewed my stories. Like I showed you.
She said?
She goes, I don't think it's just me making waves.
Jenna. Right. So, if Jenna will watch this, like, so what happened? And I feel like the Katie or so, I don't know. I get triggered by AI.
I know that.
Jenna wrote Jenna and Marcus, Marcus loves fucking around with the AI. Marcus was my partner for a podcast. Jenna made a poem Marcus produced a song for her. It triggered me in ways where I was like, I was seriously, it like, it, it took up good fucking 150 hours of my life of trying
The
to
rabbit
figure
hole.
out, no, more than that, at least
Oh, okay.
300.
Oh,
It's
Jesus.
much more because yeah, like I had to think of a way to get them back too. So yeah, that's another story. But so yeah, I made it's a long story. But
It's okay.
I just like it was, it was the whole of like the stolen valor of like taking artistic credit of like saying that you're a songwriter when all you did was put words through an AI and it's like, oh, you produced a song. I'm like, I'm a songwriter. Bitch, if you had poems, I could have written a song for you. Like if you had like, poetry, I was like, oh, I can make lyrics out of that. Do what kind of style? I have three fucking groove boxes that I, make fucking packs for internationally. What style of music would you like it to be? And what could you get? Give me an hour.
For sure. But
And,
yes.
and then like for the defend AI that like there's artistic merit. It's a Jesus Christ. It fucking it ruined me for a while. But now I know that that's my trigger.
Well, I use my AI bot to help with my autism understanding of real world understanding because, like, I don't understand cut and dry people. Like, that doesn't always help me. So I have to be like, what did this person really mean?
Well, I am the exact same way, and I think that that is I think that that is the attack therapy.
Maybe.
It's that it's we don't have boundaries.
Or I don't know how to read people's social cues because I'm so desensitized where
Because we
I look
only
at
know to
everything
read the
data
social
driven.
cues of your other Hyde people. Because you
Probably.
knew.
Or even like, I told you I went after Hyde, I went to Graydon Manor, which was now Grafton, and my son went, which is also on, the watch list. So
Right.
I tried to break the generational trauma, and here I am getting a text messages from his stepmother, like, I'm sorry, I tried to prevent it. You know what I mean? Like, that doesn't help.
No, it happened to a fucking friend of mine. Like, while I was making this documentary, one of my closest friends that I graduated with, she was like, oh, so I thought she was like, wanted to be in the documentary maybe. And she's like, have you found a good school by now? 'Cause, like, my 14-year-old daughter needs help. And I'm like, you've got to be kidding me.
Oh no.
But it was that my friend, she had a different ride. She was also went to Cascade first, then CEDU, which made her even more different because Cascade was like a different, it was like a harder flavor of cocaine that was in the Coca-Cola of the formula.
Wasn't that like really, really wilderness based, like survival based?
No.
Okay.
It was like a more elitist CEDU. It was like
Okay.
it was like fancier, more, the kids were more bonded.
Okay.
Than they were at CEDU, which I didn't know could be a real thing.
Okay.
So if I'm interested in you talking to Cascade people hardcore.
I will tell you, I had an emotional wall up, and I didn't feel safe at any point. And like I told you, I mentioned Ross. He had a sister Leah. I got really close to them, but I didn't really trust anybody at the school outside my friend group, and they weren't people that lived near me.
So after like there have been times you live in your life and you just meet somebody and you're like, oh, I went to this, and you start telling them about a Hyde and they're like afraid of you, or have you been like on drugs with somebody and you told them about it and they've been like, oh my God, you're so interesting. Has that ever happened to you?
Yes, both have happened because like when I smoke weed, I'm very honest about smoking weed. I'm not going to hide that. It's legal. I don't care, whatever. It's a thing. I have PTSD.
Oversharing.
But I have learned that I will trauma dump at times. Like when I met my husband, for example, we dated for 8 weeks and we got married. Crazy, whatever. But he knew my whole life story before in that 8 weeks because I was like, if you're going to marry me, you need to know everything. You know what I mean? And I'm like that with my friends too, even with you. I'm like, hey, here's the good, bad, and ugly. This is everything you need to know. And then it's kind of like, learn about me and make your choice because I don't want to have to convince anybody anymore.
Yeah,
but I agree. Yes. People look at me and say Hyde, and they're either like, or they're like, what is that? And I'm like, this boarding school in Maine. And then normally they'll come back and be like, you went there? And I'm like, yeah.
Yesterday, okay, you know how you were saying you made that point that you were saying that thing that like you wanted to compliment somebody, but you didn't feel like you were made up and they looked at you weird.
Yes.
Okay, you're right about that, but it is about if okay, we can if we're look the part, like if we look like, we're well kept, like makeup on, like prettied up or whatever, and we walk around and like compliment people, that's like almost like a magic, like that's like, oh, like that can,
Yes, it's a conversation starter.
yeah, that we'll make friends, like, because it's like, but if we're disheveled and do those things, it's not the same. People
They treat me like I'm a gremlin.
yeah, because we say things that crazy people would say.
You're not wrong.
That's it's seriously because we are little.
Some of my
We're
compliment,
like,
you're not wrong. I'll be like, girl, your crystal is off the hook. You know?
we are literal mystics walking around the world. So we have to be shaven and clean. And like my dentist even told me about this. My dentist is he's a rich guy, and we're really good friends because he's done an extensive amount of dental work in my mouth for the last like 15 years. And he's actually the one that he's very good friends with my father, and I've tried to get him to tell my dad about CEDU because he believes me. And I was like, who's you've been to you're old. Have you ever been to a seminar in a hotel? Like, do you know what Landmark is? And he's like, oh, and he had been through Landmark. And then I was like, oh, there's no like Jewish troubled teen industry schools. And he's like, well, no, there is, because I told you that I had friends that went to Hyde. And I was like, well, what do you mean? He's like, well, yeah, all the people that I know that went to Hyde are Jewish.
I'm not Jewish. I'm Catholic, but I didn't realize that.
But it's just the money thing.
Makes sense.
It's that 1% of the 1%. Like, I'm pretty sure there's a pretty high Jewish, moneyed,
Probably.
the situation at CEDU too.
And keep in mind, Hyde was also, for the longest time, it was word of mouth too. So you had to know someone. My mom knew someone from the old Catholic school, St. Timothy's, that I went to, whose son went there, and other son was starting when I went. So they were right, like literally, I'm talking like a local Catholic school, like Chantilly, Virginia, small like that. I mean, it's a lot of people, but
they probably got paid too. They probably got paid like a grand by Hyde.
I don't fucking know, but I know that this woman ended up working there after, when her son graduated, because she thought it was so amazingly life-changing. So when I sent the emails asking for my paperwork from the school, I copied her on it, and I was like, how could you recommend my parents send me here privately? And sent it to her Hyde email.
Because if an adult gets the Hyde education or with a CEDU education or whatever this, if they can get, if they take the parts of it that are edible for the human consumption, that they always did give a lighter version of, like, there's like in this box under this computer right here is the workshops for the parents seminar. So like they would have the parents come for like a long weekend, and they'd have like them all do like the children's or like I forget, I think there's 3 of them I have in here.
Okay.
But it would be like a profit, but very, very light. Like they weren't like screaming and staying up all night.
Well, no, they don't want to traumatize the parents.
Right, but they want the parents to have to be like, oh, but my kid's doing this, but a real, an intense version that, but yeah.
It was all sugar-coated bullshit.
But so when they did this for like kids at WASP, what they would do is they would tie music to it. Songs would play like I know, like one of my friends' parents will like play Desperado at Christmas dinner every year, and that's like a huge trigger song because they'll try to play the music that programmed them, thinking that it's still good, but it's like we can't ever.
I feel like the programming, like the vitamin C graduation song, I can't listen to. I told you that, but there's really no other, like I wasn't there necessarily long enough to be like traumatized into songs and stuff, but I can tell you that after having to get up and sing that song, which is not relevant but kind of relevant, I have had the biggest fear of public speaking ever since. I cannot, like, I can do this with you because we've had conversations and I'm comfortable with you, but like actually getting up in public speaking, I can't do it.
Yeah, no, I can't either. I tried to be a rock star in this previous life of being a fucking filmmaker. I don't know if you knew that. And it's like
I love it.
failed horribly, and so I just became a guitar builder, and like had
I
guitar
love
shops,
it.
whatever. And then I got involved, like the exact same time that I started my making, got involved in. So I do those two things as well. But I used to not be able to talk. Like if like whenever band I was in, whatever, if I was on a microphone and I was supposed to speak before singing, it was always that like I would be like nobody could ever understand what I was saying. Like, I had
I
a
talk way
rule.
too fast too.
Yeah, like I have gotten slowly better at talking about this because I've been vlogging about this shit since the program came out.
And I think the writing has helped me because normally I talk very like I'll talk like this and I don't realize it, and it's like people try to and people are trying to digest what I'm saying. Whereas now I can step back and I'm not as emotional about it because I word vomited it to the whole world. And whether they choose to read it and choose to care or choose not to, I've at least told my truth. You know what I mean? So I can calmly dissect it and make it palatable now.
Yeah, like you stated what happened to you twice, like pretty much the same way, just because it's like, and because but it's also like that's a brave thing to do, but it's something that's really important too, because like I get like a big thing that I'm going to be in my film is humor, is that like we have to be laughing about this the entire time because that's the only way that
To kill us. It's gonna
yeah,
kill us
we
otherwise,
have to.
literally.
It's there was there a huge thing about like pendulums at Hyde where like to the
So if
degree
there was, I don't remember it.
was it because the big thing about like after the truth shall set you free, we had to the degree you feel your joy, the same degree you feel your sorrow.
So we didn't have anything like that after.
Do they have any like element of like when you cry you're like there's like you have your soul is a chrome ball and you have to like shine it up and make your like soul shiny again?
No, but there was an element of, I would say, like shaming if you did cry, especially during like a seminar or something. Like that was not.
You cry.
Yeah, like I've programmed myself to try not to cry. Just recently, over the past couple months through therapy, I've started crying again. Like I literally wouldn't cry for like the longest time. Well, like all the time. Like let's say like you were opening up about something, right? And you were in this family seminar, or you were in one of your seminars with your, group, or you were even in class. Like, I mean, there was a lot of mean things that happened. Or like after my rape or stuff, like I would cry, or you didn't want to play a sport and you didn't do good at the sport and you got yelled at, so you cried. There was a million different reasons.
Right.
They always basically said that you were like less than because you were crying and you can't show that type of emotion and it's very weak and this, that, and the other. So like for the longest time in my life, I wouldn't really cry or I'd stuff tears.
Girl, that's the biggest difference. That's the complete opposite.
Okay.
That was the thing. So at CEDU is that's the difference between CEDU and Hyde, is that CEDU made us emotional fucking water, like we are like
Oh no, we were supposed to be stoic, composed, perfect at all times, presenting right. And then if we knew something or did something wrong, we were to tell on it immediately to build our character in that moment and go through whatever the process was of 2-4, however long they kept us on military work crew until they felt we were done. And during that time, like we didn't sleep if they didn't want us to, we wouldn't eat if they didn't want us to, we wouldn't be able to shower, we would go build like a hole and have to stand in it at 4 a.m.
Hi.
Yeah. I mean, you could cry, but it was frowned upon heavily.
That is the first time I've ever heard that, except for Agape. I heard like at Fundamental Baptist Troubled Teen Industry Schools, that is that if you cry, you get beat in the name of the Lord, or
We didn't get beat and we didn't get put on 2-4 for crying, but we got mocked and humiliated and basically told that we are better than that type of an emotion type thing. Like pull it together, like suck it up, buttercup, basically.
There would be no point at being at CEDU that if you were crying that would be ridiculed.
Yeah. So it was like a sign of weakness almost.
Would you get mad? Were there times where you weren't supposed to laugh at things?
Yes. Oh, there were times that you were supposed to have no emotion as well, especially when like some of these kids like myself have dark humor, or the parents would have humor, and it would be like an emotionally tense topic, but you were supposed to make sure that you were very much like poised, because you didn't want your emotion to read on them or reflect on them type thing, because you didn't want to take them out of their zone of their whatever they were going through in the process of it.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's that's fucking really different though. So the whole thing with the CEDU is that if you do you want to pause for a second? Do you want to?
No,
Okay.
it's good.
Okay. So the whole thing with CEDU was that they wanted you to just feel your emotions as hard as you could for like a great experience for like days upon it. Like,
So they wanted you to feel your emotions when you were on 2-4 and they tried to break you, but they didn't want you to feel your emotions when you were in the public domain of the school. You were supposed to be prim, proper, poised, like your clothes were to be pressed at all times, freshly laundered, everything crisp, everything clean, you know what I mean? But we didn't have uniforms per se. We did get to free dress. And the more you followed the program, you, like we said, you earned privileges. You could go into town, you could go to shop at the Goodwill, you could get some money out of your account. So it was very much like a reward and negative type system as well.
so fucking crazy. Yeah. Jesus.
Why?
Christ. It's
Why?
because it's just so many of us went to so many different schools, and we've never gotten to this level of just discussing this bare basic shit. Like
it's barbaric.
They're like, oh, don't consumer stories. It's trauma dumping, and it's like, no, just talk about it like you would if there was another non-survivor in the room every once in a while, and you're gonna be okay. Like, it's just we've all been like making it so that we're so unrelatable to the public. Like, showing signs of life they're like, that's a fucking survivor fucking crazy shit.
I didn't realize that.
I don't know who like that.
No one. That was just me.
So I feel like you did that
because I went like off the grid for like a week.
When you posted the Darvo in your post, that's how we knew to find you. Was that when you did hashtag Darvo, we're like, we want to talk to this bitch. Because
I've been Darvoed by other survivors. It's been wild, like gaslight.
I was Darvoed, basically. That's, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's,
yeah.
If you were Darvoed, I want to fucking talk to you, because we need to be making them.
And I heard too, like, I had someone else tell me that Darvo is just a legal term, and I'm like, no, it's not. It's
not to the survivor community, I guess.
No, it's a term for deny, attack, reverse offender. So it basically means that they're going to turn your shit or whatever they did to you and how you feel about it. Like, I could be like, Kari, you upset me because, and you'll be like, well, that's fine because I did it because you upset me and blah, 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 blah. And I've had survivors do that to me. And I don't think the general public realizes even what Darvo is.
Yeah, no. No, it's just that, like, that like Katie Mack, it's like saying that, like, oh, in some private fucking group, oh, I know I don't kind of talk on, but I've been getting really mean girled. I didn't even read the rest of that, because her saying that she's been mean girled is like.
Well, I asked her if she wanted to have a conversation with me, because I saw a thread post where her and another survivor were calling me out by name that I haven't spoken about in months, and I've distanced myself. And I'm like, how can you be mean girled when you're actively mean girling?
When you are the
of
the survivor community, you are the queen bee. You're the king bee that makes the queen bee that runs things, and then that the queen bee just rotates. But you're the fucking king.
And do you know what was so sad about that, Kari? I wanted to look up to this woman. I didn't know her. I had no interaction with her before being named in a comment thread that she was actively attacking other people with this person that attacked me. And I just sat there like, how could this happen? Because my goal was to get in your ear at one point because I thought you were making a difference. And here you are hurting me while I'm just sitting at home crying in my bed.
And that's what she did. That's the whole thing, is that I made friends. I only became a part of the community when I was invited to Survivor's Prom. And then when I saw that Hannah Kay was also in the fucking third episode of the program in this fucking TikTok she did, and I was like, that's my friend that I never got to meet. Like, that's a sister that, like, I was supposed to meet, you know? Like,
yeah, they're all brothers and sisters.
Everyone, and I was like, you know, like, I was like, oh, the Survivor community, like, and then so, like, when the program came out, it was like, hey, my CEDU friends, I'm making a CEDU documentary. I know all these people. These are my friends. Like, you know, like, be friends with them because, like, you know, they're part of my film.
They're cool.
I realized that they didn't like me, first of all, and then I was like, just like, there was a time where, like, I, you know, when I first met Chris, and I was like just figuring out like about breaking code silence, like the lawsuit and everything, and I was like, I was on the phone with two people, and I was like, you know, I blocked Hannah Kay, and I'm like, I haven't blocked Katie Mack yet, but honestly, the only reason why I haven't blocked Katie Mack is because I'm highly afraid of her, and I didn't know her well, you know, like nobody had really flat out told me what was going on with her yet.
Well, I'm scared of her now.
No,
just
because. So me and these two other girls, we were all on speakerphone talking, and we were all had our phones away from us. And so I'm like, and I said, you know, I'm like, yeah, I haven't blocked Katie Mack yet. And I'm like, so only because I'm so afraid of her. And I'm like, and honestly, if anyone's listening to our conversation right now, it's fucking her. I'm like, if anyone's fucking listening to who we're talking, it's Katie. And I'm like, so hi, Katie Mack, we love you. And the other two girls are, hi, Katie, we love you. Click. All our phones went dead.
Jesus.
And then one of the girls, she called me. She's like, "Who's touching their phone?" I was like, "Oh, I don't know. I wasn't touching my phone." We just figured that, you know, there's like, because the thing was, all of us were sitting, like, there was no reason for the phone to just. And so, you know, that's yeah, it's fucking cybersecurity. You know, it's like this, and there's some sort of reason that Katie doesn't want the survivors talking about MKUltra. And they don't want us comparing stories the way we have.
I will say too, though, that like the advocacy orgs that I wanted to be part of, I now realize that I feel like they're more detrimental. And it's sad that I say that because like independently as someone doing it on my own, just like you, it's like I feel like I'm getting more persecuted because I'm not that sanitized, clean, PR perfect version. I am messy. I am unkempt. I am still actively healing because this world didn't give me a sanitized version. I'm still literally going through the mess of my childhood.
Yeah. No, I had a fucking I used to be financially taken care of. Like I'm on Social Security, disability, you know, so I could get, you know, good healthcare because I'm, you know, disabled from the fucking from CEDU. But I live in Connecticut. That doesn't cover what it
No, the cost of living, no, not at all.
So when the documentary got to the point where my dad just like didn't want me to stop doing the documentary, he stopped giving me my own money for like he would, you know, all my money from the government got sent to my dad.
Okay.
Because I just figured out a long time ago, I don't have enough money to pay my bills. If I just, you know, sign everything over to my father, he was just, you know, like, you know, he would just put money in it. And then it only was like a year ago that through making the documentary that I had to fucking get my own bank account and get like my checks sent to my, you know, seriously,
got it.
You know, and I'm fucking 45 and that's embarrassing.
It's not embarrassing. It's just the life skills they taught us aren't home ec life skills.
But yeah, but
unfortunately,
it's also a common thing that like I figured out that a lot of us, because we came from money, and then like when we got out, our parents see that we were still fucked up, so they continue to pay for us way more than they would like our brothers or sisters, yet will never admit that this is why they're paying for it.
You know, you're not wrong. I never thought about it that way, but you're not wrong.
It's that like our parents will be on live and like they'll pay for things or more than like you know that our siblings would, like far more, but they won't admit that it's them continuing to double down on I spent over 100 or you know thousands of dollars on this, so it can't be, you know.
I'm an only child and I was adopted, but I will say that I do think that my father, my adopted father, did pay for things beyond what he should have because of the level of guilt and shame that he had. I do think you are correct. And I never thought about it in that context until you just said that. But maybe that's their way of being like, I'm not going to admit it. Like I told you, he wouldn't write the letter for legal, but that's fine because he didn't. He's like, can't you just let it go? I'm like, no, I can't let it go. How can I let this go?
Right, because my dad literally wants me to get therapy for like something that my mom did to me in like infancy. Like he's convinced my dad literally, my younger brother and sister will not speak to my father because my father in a text told me that I must have a fucking that my mother must have molested me or something like that because that's the only thing that makes like basically makes sense. Like my fucking family is completely like a little brother and a little sister, and like we will not speak to each other because my dad is in so much denial. I was getting a hysterectomy, and I had told that like my doctors in Yale for months, I was institutionally abused. If you put me under and you ask me, I know that I'm gonna end up in the psych ward. Just gonna, because basically, if you ask me if I'm happy or if I'm suicidal and I am in a hospital setting, I will always say yes. That I like.
I can understand that because the hospitals are very triggering for like just the pink slip that we talked about. You don't know how much that like 12 hours in there was triggering us as hell. Like I almost didn't survive it in my head.
Yes, I had to pretend. Like when I was in the fucking hospital, I had to pretend I was somebody else. I literally lived a fantasy in my head, and literally had to pretend I was somebody else. And I just thought about my documentary the entire time.
And that sucks because like I went through the same thing, like I told you, where my husband had to say, no, these lawsuits are real. She's really going through this. The stress is real. She's not making this up. But like to be
That's why
in
when
somewhere
I
that's
saw
supposed to be
your
safe.
fucking husband, like I was like, when your husband, comment like, "Yep, this is real." Like, I am
Yep.
sorry that but I'm like, this has happened to.
Well, someone called a welfare check on him about a year and a half ago, and we were having a situation. And in that situation, I told the cops I didn't want anything to happen. I wanted them to leave. Everything was fine. Everyone was okay. They ended up arresting him. And I had just lost my job, so I couldn't pay the bills. And here I have my only support system in this town that was new to me in jail. You know what I mean? And it was really traumatizing in and of itself, too.
Yeah, yeah.
He ended up getting cleared of the charges, so it's not a big deal. Like it wasn't a huge thing, but it was monumental for me in that time period. And there's so many times that I felt like I was going to break, that these welfare checks, speaking of them, and these mental health holds, they do nothing but trigger.
If there's a welfare check situation, right? Depending on your state or whatever, but this is what they do. They will start. Okay, if you're a target, right? If you're gonna get, you're gonna.
If I post something that concerns
This is
someone,
what you have to do. If a cop ever is like, oh, we were sent, we want to know who you are, you say, you never say that you're fucking suicidal. You never,
I know that, and I never did.
Well, but also you can't be honest at all. You can't say that what I would, I with a documentary now can be like, no, motherfucker, I am making a documentary about MKUltra. I have been for 2 years. My doctors know about it. This is their fucking phone numbers. I have fucking, there's no fucking way I'm going anywhere with you. I would rather go to jail. So take me to jail because you can call my lawyer, who's also a survivor. He knows what to say. You know what I mean? Like,
yes.
I was like, no.
And I think that's part of the problem. Like, and going through this, then you stated that beautifully. I haven't really realized the words until I started like fully writing what survivor language is, because it's not only are we different, but our language is different. So to laymen, I might not be a lawyer, but the average person isn't going to understand my survivor speak.
Well, because survivor is the cult word. It's like, we got to stop using the word survivor. Survivors, what, there's just survivors are a temporary word. Survivor should never be like your fucking tattoo. I know that, like, there's like survivors that like get like survivor and then their number like on it, and it's like,
Oh, that's sad.
that's gonna be your life for the rest of your life, and that's their only tattoo too.
Oh, wow.
And like, there's,
I never.
they were friends of this. Some of these people were fucking friends of mine, and now they've allowed their fucking shit they've allowed their work to be tied to Unsilenced. And when I told them, "Hey, girls, that's Katie Mack," they were like, "Don't," either they didn't believe me, or they were like, "We don't care." And this is Liz Ionelli, the recent documentary, "The Kids Are Not Alright."
Did it come out yet?
Yeah, I went to the fucking premiere, girl. I went to the fucking premiere, and I saw all the Easter eggs of Breaking Code Silence being fucking corrupt, and all like the fucking hints of like in the background of like Liz's strife of like getting bullied for the last 10 years of, and then I saw that Michaela Schur was like allowing for when the film was premiering in Los Angeles that Unsilenced was going to be there and that Applegate was going to be there. And I was like, oh, what? And I fucking texted Liz and the Michaela Schur, the documentary. I was like, no, the flat, it's Katie Mack. That's Katie Mack. You're going to let Katie Mack be at fucking Liz's premiere? And they were like, oh, we don't want to be involved in the infighting. I was like, oh. It's like this girl, because Liz Ionelli was Darvode 10 years ago.
Okay.
Liz Ionelli, she was thrown into a mental institution like 9 or 10 years ago.
So it seems just like a pattern now, a recognized pattern.
If you are a survivor, and if you're a survivor of MKUltra or to fucking any of these places in America, and you want to be talking about it and you want to be an advocate for it, this is just what's going to happen to you. You're going to get thrown into a psych ward for some reason. It might not make sense to you until a very long time, but it's usually, you're going to get into a psych ward, or you'll die some point, whatever. It's, what are the other things? But most of us die, or, like Evan, right? Or you get thrown into a psych ward at some point, but then you get usually.
Well, the scariest part too, I didn't.
The other thing is you'll get sued, and you'll lose custody of your kids. Your ex-husbands will get, the Katie will help, your exes in court battles and say that, oh yes, this is a horrible person. I have evidence because I have all these, she trains people to be computer experts in hacking for activism because that's what her job is she's in, so yeah. So she can't, because she works in IT, in cybersecurity, she can't do that for activism. So she trains people professionally and has for fucking, 15 years.
That's horrifying.
So it's like, is her fucking family, General McNamara? I don't know. Like when we look at it, it's just enough that if there were fucking, family reunions, they definitely, they would have been whatever. But it could be the thing of like, even if there isn't, she just knows that that's enough for us to be afraid enough of her to not speak out.
It's like she knows the perfect triggers.
Yeah.
Because we all, whether we admit it or not, I believe in my heart, everyone that survived a TTI and the people that have passed, we all share a common thread. We all have a lot of very similar triggers if you talk about it.
Yes.
So it doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure out what those triggers are and how to prey on them. And
I know mine is AI. Like I know mine is AI. Like I know that, like I know when, so it's like I just don't.
I know mine is like public speaking. That's why like I haven't done podcasts and stuff, but I felt comfortable enough with you that our conversation would flow like naturally and wouldn't be forced.
Girl, it's like it's to the point where like, well, I'll meet people and I'm like, hey, are you a little fucking magic? Because, I wasn't before, and I've just met so many people that are just like, have assured me that they're magic. And I'm like, well, yeah,
It's that intuition. We have incredible intuition.
It's that, like, we're great, like, multiple choice guessers.
Yes.
Yes. Like, it's like,
only if it worked for the lottery. If it could correspond to the lottery, man.
And I think that even in the book, that fucking so Norm Macdonald was a gambler, and I
Okay.
think that what Norm used to do was make Adam Egget pick stuff for him because he would be able to fucking see winners sometimes.
That's what my husband does. When he plays Keno, he makes me pick the numbers.
So that's like in Stephen King terms, that's called like The Shine. So it's like basically like, you know what I mean? Like, have you seen like any Stephen King works?
I'm afraid of clowns.
Okay, no. So Stephen King has been writing about us his entire fucking life. It's so
I know
scary.
you've talked about this, yes.
So Carrie had telekinesis. I don't think any of us can actually fucking move shit with our fucking mind. You know what I
No.
mean? I don't know, but that's like the the bigger one. But there are people that like they definitely tried to give us some sort of psychic training that just I only know because of proven shit as adults that that it just happened. Yeah.
Okay, so I run the Hyde stuff through my autism bot and the MKUltra, and I've asked it, and I've done research on the MKUltra as well. And I think it's wild because if that occurred, how would it have occurred without me having knowledge? Like, how did all this happen without me standing there? Like, I mean, I felt like it wasn't right. I ran away from Hyde because I felt like it wasn't right. You know what I mean? But at the same time, like, how did they do this?
I remembered everything. They really wanted us to forget like what was
Yes.
happening.
They Men in Black brainwashed us. And it's
Yeah,
not until I started really tapping into it in therapy and talking to other people that have been through it that I'm like, oh shit.
I feel like I am like a living like historian. I feel like I remember I could draw the entire.
You're like a living legacy. You are a living archive, historical art.
Yeah, but it's because like I'm friends with the staff. Like I talk to staff about it like all often. Like
Wow.
like yeah, no, like because it's it's like listen, I don't think I don't have any fucking plans on suing anybody because I'm just trying to make a fucking film. I am trying to figure out how this fucking happened so that it doesn't happen in still running schools right now.
Exactly.
So you can't be like, I know that there are a few psychopaths that fucking molested, like there's one problem guy that's named Martin Weens. He still molests boys at a place called the Doc Mennonite Academy in Pennsylvania. And that is a huge problem that we fucking know about. But
there's so many problems within it. But how are you going to take down a problem if you don't understand every perspective of it? You need every facet to be able to take it down.
But I can explain Martin Weens because Martin Weens is a.
Oh, no, talking about you being friends with this good stuff.
Oh no, yeah. Also, Martin Weens is an alumni. Martin went to fucking a different CEDU school and then returned a couple years later to the main CEDU campus to become staff. And he had a fucking hot tub that was secret on campus for years and groomed at least 5 boys until it closed. And then he moved on to, and it's like
not okay.
It was so secret that the boys that he even did it to don't remember it. And those are most of the ones that aren't alive anymore. One of them found me as soon as the program came out. He was like, I've been drinking about CEDU my whole life. And he's like,
yep.
I remember something about Martin and in a hot tub. And when I got back from filming, the fucking my boy, like staff that I love, that I have watched this staff realize what he did at CEDU and like try to apologize, and he's like, been there. His name is Randolph. When we talked on the phone, he's like, so I bet you've heard about the hot tub by now. And I was like,
shit.
I was like, yeah, Randolph, like, because it was like a secret hot, you know what I mean? It was like, so it's like, when I tell people, when people are like, oh, so you're making a pro CEDU fucking staff documentary? I don't know, does it sound like it?
No.
When, I have staff that's like, yeah, he wants to remember it. He wants
But how can you fix a problem if no staff that's working at a facility that's open is going to speak? They're not going to deflect. They're not. That's their job. That's their income. That's their life. They've probably been brainwashed to believe it's the best thing ever.
There was a school that I think there's a school that just closed. It's called Aurora. There's a school called Aurora in Nevada, in Hawthorne, Nevada. that we were like, I made my Kickstarter campaign to see if we could go there because we heard that we heard boys were getting sodomized because they
Oh
were gay
no.
at a fucking place in Nevada. And it was like nobody was coming because it was on an army base in the middle of fucking nowhere. So I made a Kickstarter with the support of some people just because we were trying to get there.
Okay.
And then some crazy shit happened, but it got closed down finally. But in the middle of it, I was like, we had tried to get like into the town. It's a story I can't tell right now, but
No, that's fine. I understand.
we had inside information, and we found out that before it got closed down, uh, when the like health and safety, or when the Child Protective Services went to see the school, and they were closing it down, the staff at Aurora claimed that harassment against the people that closed it down, and they were trying to sue the state of Nevada for harassment because they closed the school down. And I just wanted to be like, this is just
How?
so it's because this is the only thing in that fucking town that isn't the military, or like there's just a nothing town, and it's like it's just that the only thing that's in this town is this little fucking troubled teen industry place.
It's literally sickening to hear.
So and the people that work there are all on meth. So it's like, when they didn't know what they were doing. They weren't like, and this was probably a Litchfield school too. This is probably a WASP school. The whole problem with the program is that, I mean, they did make it clear, but the WASPs, they still a bunch of WASP schools out there. They're just different, they change different names.
Rebranded.
Yeah, like everyone's like, how many schools are there? I don't know. I seriously don't know how many there are in my state.
How many people, and this is the other thing I'm wondering, if it took me this long to realize what Hyde really was, at least in my opinion, what I think Hyde really was because of what I lived through, how many other schools have kids that went to them or parents that were involved with them that we have never heard about, that we don't even know a name to because nobody's come forward?
Well, those are like Phoenix House. There's a I know what I've heard of.
There's got to be a plethora.
But I've heard, like, I'll hear more all the time, like, or yeah. There's just
Thank you, by the way, for bringing awareness to this. Like, you have been fighting the fight for forever to bring awareness to this. Like, thank you.
Well, no, it's because when I came, I was like, well, hey, like, there's a survivor community, like CEDU. There was a small CEDU documentary that was on YouTube, but I was a part of it. I was interviewed for it, but the guy died Liam died in 2017.
Okay.
And so Surviving CEDU never got finished, but I only know that he fucking interviewed a lot of people for Surviving CEDU, because when I interview people, and I haven't asked anybody to fucking sign a release form, by the way.
Okay.
I'm an idiot. It's made it so I've lost an entire fucking day of filming. But when it became clear that 2 of the interviews that I had done, they're like, well, they had realized that their contract with Liam, or their do not discuss, had expired. So they're like, oh, and I'm like, wait a minute, you were also. So we realized that, like, Surviving CEDU was supposed to be a much bigger interview, a much bigger documentary.
Yeah.
But it is used. Surviving CEDU on YouTube, a couple of those episodes are used as like. I only know this because somebody that went to CEDU walked into his psychology class in college.
Okay.
And Brainwashing 101, they showed an episode of a clip of Surviving CEDU.
See, because
he ran out of the room, and then when he came back, the professor was like, "So did you go there?" And he's like, "Well, fuck yeah, I went there, yeah."
See, because like I wouldn't have necessarily even said that the attack therapy was brainwashing, and now I look at it and it's like I was fucking brainwashed or attempted to be brainwashed 100%.
Because it's like emotional military school.
It is, and they at least Hyde, like I said, they called work crew 2-4 because of military 2-4.
Yeah, it's like emotional military school, and then they make you like. Did they like make you like read like character heroes' journeys? Like, did you study like fucking Gilgamesh or like Joseph Campbell's The Hero Cycle, or fucking know like know, like the formula of like epic sagas, so that like because you were supposed to be such a great person that like you live 1,000 lives.
So I don't really remember that. I told you that, but I do think that other class people did, because a lot of the time that I was there, honestly, I was on work crew. So I wasn't, when you were on work
It might have been
crew,
like
you
one of
were
the
taken
final
out of class.
things.
Yeah, but I remember that I think the seniors had to do like a project on like the Iliad and the Odyssey, if I remember correctly. So I
You
do
shut
think
up. Shut the fuck
I
up.
do think
Yeah,
that that
that's
occurred,
it.
but I
Yeah.
was not a senior. I was a sophomore. I remember something about that in senior English.
Then yeah, you're correct. Then that's it. That's yeah. Holy shit, motherfucker. That's amazing. Thank you. That's a huge because when that kind of thing got to, so basically the entire travel team industry, we came from like the four, they're synonym, right? It's all like synonym, right?
Yes.
Then like there were, like the few schools, like there were like, I don't know a lot about the Phoenix House and the other one.
I'm just starting to learn about these, to be honest.
Yeah.
So
You're somehow tied to the Elan School, which came from Phoenix. It came from another.
I know it was in Poland, Maine. It was like a sister. It was like, no, I shouldn't say sister. It was in the same general state as Hyde.
But there is a connection though. Like you guys shared staff.
I'm not sure about that. I don't know, but it's very possible.
Yeah. So so that's how I knew that there was the same, psychology. But every school since then is mostly schools that have picked up like from what they learned while working at a school like ours, and then bastardized it or made it or involved whatever religion that was like prevalent in that state, and and when Mormonism got involved. So like our drug god, whose name is Mel Wasserman and Bill Lane, that's who, our cult leaders. They went to Synanon, started CEDU, and then at some point, like, helped fund the WASP school.
No, so they
So,
continued the lineage of this.
yeah, and I fucking only knew this like a week ago. Like, after I met you is when I figured that out. And I think that Kristen's actually even told me that before. It just took me that long to realize, because I made this document. I started making the documentary because I was online for 5 years, right? I got back online. I, checked on my, my one surviving, I, had a one fucking CEDU Facebook group that I was still in. And I met Jordan. Jordan's like, oh, I want to talk to people from CEDU from a podcast. And I'm like, oh, but you didn't go to CEDU. And she's like, well, yeah, we want people to talk about CEDU. I'm like, well, how long do you have? Because, I mean, and he was like, well, you can
It's gonna
talk.
be a while.
So the first episode was 3 hours. And then I was like, and we already knew that I was gonna come back for a second one. And by the time I came back for the second one, I was like, well, I have to make a documentary because none of my friends would come on his podcast.
Okay.
Because, to be honest, Jordan sits on his bed in his apartment in Seattle. He's wonderful. He lets people talk for as long as they fucking want. He doesn't edit it. He just, presses record, whatever you fucking say, and that's it. And then he puts it up. And that's what he does. And I mean, I love him for it because it's allowed me. And then the second time I was on for 4 hours. And I read the I Want to Live Profit script, I think, to him.
Okay.
That's when we started comparing notes, like, because he had like all these binders that he had from Spring Creek Lodge. So like I realized the differences between CEDU and Spring Creek Lodge, and I realized that there were ties, and I was like, wait, I thought that your school was nothing like CEDU. And then we found out that some of the weird ritual fucking brainwasher shit was the same. And I was like,
oh, wow.
The same. We thought that WASP and CEDU were totally different fucking worlds.
See, and I would have thought Hyde was not connected to CEDU, no offense. Because like my therapist said, are you talking like the jet ski? I was like, what? CEDU what?
I think that Hyde, Hyde is its own thing. I don't think that Hyde and CEDU actually they might have
they intersected, but it just goes down to the bigger.
These are all from Synanon.
Yes,
it's all from Synanon, and so they just released. So the reason why I didn't answer when you called me the other day is because I was talking to my fucking the yin my yang in the CEDU documentary world is extraordinary.
Okay.
Because we found that I was just randomly searching Synanon, and we found that there were all these building permits that were made in March of this year. They're like 19 for I don't know, like 20 buildings or whatever that were the second Synanon headquarters that I didn't even know where they were, but they're made a national landmark. And then when you look what it's for like wedding events and like
I remember you saying this after you found it out, and I was floored. I was floored.
But the thing is, and like my expert friends are like, where the fuck did you find this? I'm like, Googled. I just searched just on the internet, like, because it's now it's also their Synanon is, I think it's also because of Trump that and RFK that forced institutionalism and behavior modification and Synanon might come, they're like it did have an element of working, and it actually started the the drug rehabilitation world in America is Synanon.
Agreed.
It's like you know what I mean.
It started as one of the first reputable rehabs. You were.
I think they're all still based somewhat on Synanon, unless it's AA. Like, I think that AA is like, like the only saving grace amongst, like, if you're, but, only because it's in public and you could change meetings if you want or whatever.
Agreed.
But there should never be any sort of like secret fucking knowledge or like steps of like fucking,
how to.
Should never be like, not know what a therapy is before, or like, I mean,
Agreed.
I don't even know what Landmark really is yet, or Scientology really is yet. I spent 2 years making fucking professional colleagues and friends who've been through this shit, and we still, because when we talk, it's like fireflies, it's like we're birds meeting, speaking the same language the first time, and then we take time to be like, wait, first of all, we remember to drink water. Like, when's the last time we peed? Like, it's like it's you become manic, and it's like it's amazing, but it's like, okay, if it's like drugs. Okay, if you want to.
It's also like, it's for me, it's been so cathartic because it's like all these things I didn't understand, I'm able to like read and be like, okay, this makes sense because of the words that you've given me to put behind it. And I never. Like, it's been so healing in the past, like, I'm going to say 6 months altogether, and the past 3 weeks with you, and intensively as well, because like, I don't feel like I'm crazy. I feel like this is all something that I was subjected to. You know what I mean?
That Facebook right now makes us look crazy. Like, I want us to stop living on fucking Facebook. It is doing nothing.
I can see that.
Doing nothing. And then
my therapist says it's not benefiting my mental health.
It doesn't do anything, because all it does is make the real world look at us and be like, whoa, okay, well, what are you gonna do? You're gonna get help? Like, they don't, because they still don't understand. You know what I mean? It's just made it so that, like, oh, you have to popularize it in some way. It's like, well, you can't do it on your own. So the whole thing of this is that I have just been making podcasts, like, and I'm slowly putting them on my YouTube, and then I'm going to make a it's just on my YouTube, and then I'm going to make a podcast edited after I have a bunch of shit. So then I'll put it out. You know what I mean?
It's gonna be like a mini movie.
Well,
like your clips.
There was an idea that I had a fucking reality show that was like of making the fucking documentary.
I could see that.
So I would be using, so that it would protect me from the craziness of the day-to-day, like, help me paying for getting all this footage in the first place. But, and it would, bring awareness, but also explain the language of what the fucking film would be about and build the audience at the same time, so that when the documentary came out, there's already an audience.
You have a fan base.
Yep. And it's also, that's, I'd be filming and getting, the movie's paying for itself as it, but, So now I'm just doing that on YouTube. You know,
Love it though, and I love that you haven't stopped like fighting the good fight despite all the obstacles you've come up
that's what's
against.
crazy is that all the other people who are the activists, they have fucking YouTubes that I have, that, blocked. I have them blocked now from my YouTube, and it's like they put up videos 7 years ago, or 8 years ago, or 15 years ago, and that's it. And it's like you have.
Well, the other thing too is you're keeping the climate active while it's still hot. You're reporting in real time. We need current. This is still happening. It didn't go away 7, 8, 15 years.
John Oliver. I'm like sitting with my boyfriend. I'm like, oh, well, what is John? I love John Oliver. I love. That's the only news I watch. And he's like, okay, no, we know that the world is ending, but we're going to talk about something even worse. And he does dissect he broke his record for the longest, longest episode he's ever done. And it was a two-parter. It was about juvenile detentions and child fucking imprisonment, or child, when they fucking lock kids alone for, solitary confinement or whatever. And that, like,
okay,
it's like, it makes adults absolutely insane to do it to children, like they do, all over. And so, like, I was like, within days, I had to make a video message, and I just have been fucking talking so much because that's, it's so right there. Yeah.
I think that people are finally starting to care, because even if you look at like the troubled teen industry as a whole, and the whole government, and the way you're going about it with the MKUltra to kind of, it's all interconnected. It really is a web. And even what you're talking about just now, the child imprisonment, how many of that went through of us went through that in our experience in these institutions?
Or it was like, we were like, oh, you're gonna go to juvie, so it was like
you're gonna dead or fucking in jail or on drugs.
And that's hence the name of Zach Bonnie's book is, dead, insane, or in jail. It was like, oh, that's our parents were told that, like, your kid
we would never be anything.
They would have ended up dead, so it doesn't matter. Look at them; they're alive now. They'll thank you someday.
Basically, that's what it was. Like, we will never amount to anything because we will never be anything.
And that never goes away. Like, I'm fucking 45. I've been making this documentary for 2 years. It's better now, but it's only gotten better once I realized at what level we were a government experiment. Like, the more that I read about MKUltra, and I'm like, that's why I remembered this.
Like, even my whole life, like, I felt so alone. That's why even like this budding friendship with you, like, I have so many like people that I just want to be like, why don't you understand? And I just feel so alone. And I have my whole life.
Like, the whole point of me and Chris, like, the reason for the motivation between my and Chris that is the same is that as soon as we got out of our shit, we've been talking about this to our people in our life our entire lives. Because as a musician, I will go up to rock stars and say ridiculous shit to them. Like, I love it. Made fun of rock stars to their face because I don't care. You know what I mean? Like, and it's a problem, so one of my friends is like basically became a drug dealer for a huge rock star just because he liked hanging out with her like all the time. And like it was so funny, like, because we don't have we're not impressed by people.
I'm not. Typically I'm not. And that's why, like, when I met you, I found you very impressive, to be honest. And you're very honest and you're very candid, and I can fuck with that hard. You know what I mean?
But so yeah, I'm sorry. So the whole thing about me and Chris is we've always wanted to explain this to other people. And since right now there's been so many recent documentaries, it's come back to our real life now. That the people that knew us back then are now being like, wait a minute, do you know people that are, like, and that, because so this was always been like, most of the survivors don't want to be the ones knowing about this. Me and Chris always have wanted to, because we've been talking about this. Because Chris also has direct fucking evidence that a doctor from Tranquility Bay is known for being part of MKUltra.
Oh, wow. As of not, you guys do not speak without facts. I do believe that on whatever level it is. I'm not privy to that, but I know that from talking to both of you, everything's been credible.
Yeah, and it's just it's they they've been like oh you sound crazy, you're not credible, and it's like why? It's
Isn't credibility just based on one person's assumption? So if you're
yeah.
not credible to one person, you might be credible to 1,000 others.
Like I'm not on Reddit because it's I can't go on Reddit. But so I told you why. There was four people that a couple months ago, in a matter of a couple days, like sent me so many screenshots of a bunch of Reddit threads that were just starting about me that like, how can we stop her? She's saying crazy things. I know I'm crazy, but this is crazy. She's a problem for the community. Like people, it's fully saying that, oh, I keep an eye on her and I know about her. And these are the same accounts that do all of the work on the troubled teen industry subreddit. They're the
Oh, wow.
same fucking people. So like when I was on the cult vault and then Casey's like, oh yeah, I'm on Reddit. The people on Reddit do really good work. I was like, yeah, I'm not on Reddit. And when they fucking did it, I was like, I'm waiting for Casey to see that those are the same fucking people. That
I
like,
think that it's like one of those things where, at least with Jenna coming forward and you fighting your fight and everyone that's making noise right now, I think that it's one of those things, everything will come out in the wash because the truth always comes out, and it's coming out, and it might be slower than people expected, but Kari, it's coming out.
but the thing is if you bitches don't think that like this makes it so much fucking better, that like I'm trying to like take down a cult of little girls that have like done activism in the name of like a fucking celebrity that I knew when I was fucking 17. Like if you don't think that like you can make it into any fucking better movie than like talking about like childhood abuse, come on, like seriously.
Part of it, it's a portion of it, but
I know.
there's so much more in that whole umbrella, like you're saying. If it's a pie chart, that's a small portion.
No, but yeah, I've been planning. If I'm not like, I will sell this story of the last being of like, because when I knew that there was a cult, like basically, like there was like a cult in the Survivor community, I was like, this is a better movie. I told my director, I was like, the Survivor community is a cult, and like I might be gone for a little while, but like this is a part of the film because we couldn't fucking make any documentary while the cult was there. It's obvious because nobody was supporting me. I made a huge Kickstarter. I had already like fucking done a lot of stuff and nobody supported me. I just was getting attacked. It was getting on huge podcasts. Nobody's listened to them.
I just think it's wild for people that are their platform is you're unsilent. And I'm not saying that like don't be silent in any way. Like the silence is what's killing us basically among the children and those I hate to say survivors, but among all of our brothers and sisters that have survived this experience,
Yeah.
then why are we all being silenced as a result?
Yeah. Why are you being dicks to each other? Stop being unlikable little fucking girls. Grow the fuck up. Write a book. Make a movie. Draw something. Write a song. Do fucking something. But stop fucking yelling at each other.
I agree. The fighting does nobody good, and it detracts from the message. Because
And
people are like, if this is so messy, why do I want to give it time?
Don't trust fucking Unsilenced. Don't trust Katie Mack. Don't trust anybody that you can't fucking talk to.
I agree.
Like, don't trust anybody that you can't talk to on the fucking phone.
I agree. If I can't talk to you as a person, I don't think that's credible. I can't speak to a live human being. How can I trust it?
It's like when I talked to Chris, she was like, how many people did they throw at you before I got here? She was like, so, because people would call me and trauma, and tell me, be like, oh, tell me about how, because I'm a documentary filmmaker. And I didn't write shit down on purpose. I'm like, I'm not writing anything down. I just want to know what you went through. Because I went through something totally different, and I'm probably older than you, and whatever. And that took years off my life. Like, I mean, there would be times where, like, I mean, that's I've spent thousands.
Because you were basically acting as like a lone journalist at that point, and you were taking it all in to make your documentary. Like you were just absorbing.
Right. But there are weapons that Katie has made that are the strongest, like saddest stories. And those when those were told at me, it was like, and so, and there, that makes it so that people don't like to compare stories.
I can see that.
The whole thing about is that, and that's the problem with Teen Torture Inc., and that's the problem with Breaking Code Silence, and that's the problem with all the exploitation of like, look at all this. That's not making us fucking relatable, first of all.
And I think that every story is important. Like you've stressed every time we've spoken, every single story is important. The details aren't better or worse. It just matters that we're still here to tell it.
Yeah, and there's a certain amount of recognition of what flavor you are, you are from after that, but also there's Tranquility Bay is a level of hell that you and I will never know.
Yeah, and I probably couldn't survive some of these programs. Like I wouldn't have been here.
They mostly have permanent scars like you would not believe. Like they will never. Those people those are our rock stars. Like if you went to Tranquility Bay and you graduated, you're fucking, even for any amount of time, or like Castle by the Sea. If you were a boy and you were young and Castle by the Sea, yeah, it's a purple heart. Like you have a purple heart. Like
Okay.
you went through WASP and like for an amount of time, like a year, 2 years, those kids had it like they would just
See, and I don't want to say that my story was better or worse than anybody, but they're all important, and
They are.
Some are way worse than mine. Some are definitely worse than mine, but I don't want to harp on
that's how Hyde is still around. That's what it's because there are these little differences, and because they are so secret and they don't.
Well, for a while, they weren't even considered part of the troubled teen industry. Like I said, they were just a freaking elite boarding school. So people were unbeknowingly signed up to them. Since I've left, they used to have a Connecticut campus and the main campus. They closed the Connecticut campus. I don't know what happened there, but they started opening charter schools, and now they're an international school, and they bring over international students from like China to fill in the extra lapses in the student. At least they were during COVID. They were bringing them over.
China.
It was like they were getting like international students to come over.
Like, are they getting Japanese people?
I'm not sure. I just know that they opened an international program and started targeting that general area to come.
So that's terrifying because anything. If Japan does it, they're gonna do it better than anybody in the world. Like it's sort of like.
I do know that.
You know what I mean? Like if a Japanese person wants to perfect something, they make the best. Like
yeah.
Like we got a Japanese guy that perfected the groove box he like made a video and it was like hello maestro, you just got this instrument, you're from Japan, like can I be your friend because you like he's like
yep.
So if somebody from Japan got the Hyde.
But it's possible. You could look at Kari. You could look it up. They were doing like it says like U.S. students or domestic students and international students, and you could see how they're targeting them. And you could look at the class photos and kind of deduct reasoning. But they started getting, I guess, lower enrollment rates. So they opened it up to an international program to be able to keep the influx of money coming in and the consistent alumni donations. Because they've had an issue with enrollment lately, from what I understand.
I predict that if my documentary doesn't stop to Hyde, that in 50 years there would be Hydes in,
God, I hope not. And I hope if that is the fucking case, I hope that it has changed incredibly. But I don't have faith in that, and I have faith in the only thing is it needs to be shut down.
No, because there's magic there, that's. There was a certain sort of magic. Like, do you have like an aversion to like fucking meditative, like any sort of meditation?
My husband practiced this like sacred kung fu for years and years and years before I met him. He tries to get me to meditate with him all the time. I can make it 10 minutes looking at him, or not 10 minutes, 10 seconds
Yeah,
looking at him in a 10-minute meditation, and I'm like, nope, I'm done. I can't do this.
that is, I'm the same way. And so it's that like we had so much forced meditation or like
Contact with people. I have an aversion to eye contact with people when I talk to them. And it's not always a good thing. And I try to be respectful, but like I can't always make eye contact because it's like I feel someone's energy a lot of times and it will
it's just
freak me
they
out.
made us fucking mysticky, fucking witchy people. Like, I mean, so many people. I would just see it on Facebook, like like so many survivors were like self-identifying witchy people.
I identify as a witch, but just because like I'm grounded in nature and everything.
Well, yeah, but it's like it was just like
My husband says the same things we were talking about, how it's weird how I can want a song to come on and it comes on, or I can predict something. Me and you were talking about this. It's almost like we know things are going to happen before they happen. And when they come to fruition, we're just sitting here like,
yeah, yeah,
you know?
yeah. There was about a year ago. CEDU, the CEDU's on a mountain and it was on
Yes,
fire.
you said that.
And my friend who is a witchy person, they predicted it. Like they when I called them, they were even like, "Is CEDU on fire? Are you calling me because the mountain's about on fire? Because I had a dream last night that I was standing like right by the graduation stage, and then like there was just this huge like like flames that came and I was like yeah."
Yes, that's why I am calling, as a matter of fact.
And
That's
then
wild.
when I was talking about it with Lola, so Lola's my friend from Rocky Mount Academy. She's like the yin to my yang. She was like when we figured out that I'm like, who can you call in your head? Like who can you psychically call? And she was like, "Oh, I've had a boyfriend that like I've like
Stop.
manifested like a boyfriend like bringing me like my favorite treat or like whatever or like that like."
I just had a conversation with someone like 2 days ago about like why every time that I think of you, do you text me? And they go, I don't know.
Yeah. So it's that like yeah, that's they're like we're the kind of people that like will think of somebody and they'll text her. Yeah, like that doesn't happen to people the way it does it to us. Like
It's so wild.
yeah.
All
Or
the
like
time.
with Chris, it's instant. Like I'll text Chris a bunch of shit. Hours will go by or like days. Like a cling will go, ah, there she is. I'll immediately know it's her.
Awesome.
But we're not, but the thing is that we have never met in real life. Do you know
No,
what I mean? So that's how I knew that this was something bigger than just the trauma bond.
agreed. Because how could you have that with someone you haven't physically contacted?
There you go. Right. Is that it's more than just this is bigger than and that is maybe that's why, Katie Mack and Meg Applegate and the people that are, in charge, they didn't go through this shit. Meg Applegate went to a fat camp, like, TTI, whatever, and she's a rich girl. Katie Mack was, went to Provo for, like, a month and aged out. Like, none of these people got the full fucking flavor of basically the Scientology level shit that most of us had if we went through a lot of this stuff.
Agreed. And
Um,
my stay was still short, but I was still very much like thrown in. You were thrown in. It was like baptism by fire. You were like thrown to the wolves.
and for some people were susceptible to it, some weren't. Like my boy Jonathan, he's Zach Bonnie's little brother.
Okay.
From our like when they were in RMA together.
Okay.
He still doesn't believe this is MK Ultra. Like he can read all the MK stuff, and he's like, just because something is sharp doesn't mean it's a knife. And
But
he doesn't, but it's because it didn't work on him, and
okay.
he ran away halfway through. And his father, when he was young, said to him, "Son, if you're in a situation like if you're being interrogated by the police, or or I don't know, if you're ever in a situation where like you think that like somebody's wanting you to like confess to something or like change, know it's bullshit, and like, just always know it's bullshit. So when Jonathan went through like the first prophets, he was like, oh shit, this is what my dad was talking about.
Oh, wow.
And when his dad came to visit him, he was like, Dad, remember that conversation? And he was like, yeah. He's like, yeah, that's happening. Like Jonathan, but yeah, but I think that's why he's so different. It's because he didn't fall for it and he got out early.
So do you think the people that maybe graduated, or like at least with Hyde, I wondered, like, and this is total speculation, but
It changes from school to school. So for my
people
school,
that weren't as susceptible, so their experience wasn't as bad in their opinion, because like I said, there are people that, and it makes me sick to say this, that will swear that Hyde changed their life for the better, and I can say it ruined mine.
and no, I would say that's about 50-50 of people that I know from CEDU as well.
Okay.
Most of the people that I know from CEDU will probably not be in my documentary.
Okay. See,
I'm
that's wild to me.
I'm trying to get them, but like when I went to film, because my whole thing was like, all my friends are in Los Angeles. That's where my director is. I got out there and I had 3 days with like him and like all the equipment and whatever, and I could only get one person that knew me from CEDU, like one person that I knew, that like I knew well, and that like and then somebody that remembered me from CEDU that I didn't. He was there. We were there together for like a year and a half, and I couldn't fucking remember him. And what was very strange to me is I remember everything, and for some reason
That's so
he's
weird.
just I can't. I'm like face blind to him or whatever, and so, but he was the first comment on when I was on Jordan's podcast, the Straight Outta BS podcast. He was the first comment. So he's been following me online my whole time, making before I started making the documentary, and what was cool to ask him was, I was like, Nick, all the people that I've interviewed before you, they've all said that like the older student girls were the most abusive that they remember. I was an older student girl to you. How was I remembered? And he was like, oh, that's kind of why I'm here. You were awesome. You were always really nice. You weren't one of the mean girls. You played guitar. You were really cool, so yeah, and I was like, I was crying. I was like bubbly. I was like, crying. Yeah.
Well, that's an element of closure too, because like I don't know. I feel like for a while, like I was just so angry with this everything, and I wasn't necessarily who I wanted to be. So like I always wonder what kind of impression I make on people. So that's profound that you were able to have that moment.
And and I think that is why people are so afraid to talk about this, is because we all confessed really fucked up stuff. And a lot of it wasn't even true sometimes, or like, it's like,
I was just gonna say that. Do you know how many things we were meant to say, or forced to almost say, or like programmed to believe just to admit it?
Yeah, and it's like, that's like dirt that you like, you would take,
to my grave.
Yeah, we always
to my
grave, you know what I mean? But like, it's also, when you're dealing with the survivor community, you remember that some of those people that you might be dealing with were the people that were going to be sociopaths in the world someday. That they were the fire starters, and they were sent away for perving on their fucking siblings, and like, that like, because to be honest, I've never been sexually assaulted in my life until I started making this documentary, because the guy that was my partner for it, he flew me out to fucking start filming, and he tried to fuck me immediately. And
oh no,
it was when it happened. About fucking 15 women who he had done this to before called me, I was like, why didn't you fucking tell me before? Like, I thought that he had all these girlfriends with people, that he had all these relationships with women after CEDU, because he had three people's box of everything from CEDU that were women that he had relationships with before, and it wasn't.
Oh jeez.
Like he fucking figured out how to like get involved in their lives enough, and like he was like their stalker or their like drug dealer until they died. And like literally, like my older sister Amanda Turchin, like he has all her CEDU shit, but it's only because he basically was like, not her pimp, just, like, yeah.
He was there.
Her to have to go to a pimp, so he kind of, just perved on her enough so that, yeah, keep her in drugs until she died. So,
I
hurt survivors.
I was gonna say that.
Remember.
Like, you were the first person to say that to me, you and Chris, like
It doesn't always come from Katie Mack, but like, we'd have to be careful because we're superpowery people. Like, we're fiery people. We're
spoken, we're genuine, we're honest, and a lot of people don't take that the right way, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, it's like I was like, Ben, tell me that, like, I'm like, I have a stupidest fucking human trick where I'm like, I can just know names of people. Like, I'll just know the names of fucking things. And it's not knowledge that I fucking have any background in knowing. It's just like, I'll see somebody's face on the screen, I'll be like, that's this person. And like, it just is always correct. Or like, if I hear somebody's voice in like a cartoon, I know what actor it is.
I can do that with some things. Yeah, not everything. But I mean, did you see that one person? I think they were on some show recently. I forget what it was, but you could give them any celebrity's name and they'll know their birthday. And he was definitely, I think the guy was autistic doing it, but he got every single birthday. And I was like, how do you know this? And that's like you and names, I'm guessing.
Yeah. I think that would be something like eidetic memory, or it's like there's like something that like they don't forget anything.
Yep.
Yeah, that it's like a curse because
eidetic memory. I joke with my husband, like I could see any pattern of numbers. If I see something, I will never forget it.
Well, I've always been like that with music too. Like if I remember a song I heard in the 90s, I can usually just like recreate it, or like
that's artist in you.
But I don't know anyone's names. Like I can't remember like people.
But that's so awesome. You can understand the name but not remember. Like, that's a really cool trick.
No, it's like I'll know like if it's not even if a name is famous in the world. Like, it's like if I just see like a commercial, or I see like a TV show and I see an actress, I'll just know their name. Even though
that's
I have
awesome.
No interest in who that actress is, or you know what I mean? And it's like, I don't like movies even. I'm not a film person or film buff.
It's so funny in your documentary.
Memorizing what, and it's just like, oh, that's this. And it's to the point where, yeah, like even, and then Ben will check and he's like, no, you're wrong. And I'm like, no, check again. You're looking in the wrong website. Look, and like I prove him wrong. So I'm
that's awesome.
No, but it was weird because it's like, Ben, I know that I'm not psychic, but I do have that fucking trick. You know what I mean? And he's like, yeah.
But see, and that's the people that are closest to us that know about these things. Like laymen, like if I'm walking down the street, no one's gonna know. But like my husband, he knows the ins and outs of X, Y, Z, everything in between. You know what I mean?
Like, my boyfriend actually just made a joke yesterday. He's like, when was the last time you made a nurse cry? Is that a thing for you? Like,
yeah, my husband always asks me when he's like, so like we went to the Salvation Army and I got really upset, and I wasn't mean to the lady, but I was just like, they were ringing everything up wrong. So by the end of it, I was like, I don't want to buy these things. They don't bring me joy. I'm not going to be happy. Like I don't want them. And the lady's like, well, we can't accept returns. I was like, but my husband only checked out because the guy was being really mean, So she was like, well, yeah, we'll accept the return. I was like, thank you. I was like, but the things should bring me joy. So I walked back out. I sat in the car and I waited. And my husband's like, why'd you make her cry? I was like, how was I supposed to know I was making her cry? Like, I didn't mean to make her cry.
And that's why people think we're autistic. Right? Like, I feel like we have over honesty thing.
Yes, yeah. He tells me all the time, like, not everybody needs to know everything, Megan.
Yeah, it's that we're over honest because we were forced to be over honest.
Yeah, we didn't. We got in trouble. Even if we were doing everything right, we got in trouble.
I can't believe they didn't want you to cry about it. They
didn't want you to cry, but it was almost like a sign of weakness. It was a known sign of weakness if you were crying.
That was like, That's amazing. That's like,
I mean, if your parents cried or whatever, you got tissues and stuff, but then it was kind of like, have your moment, get over it. This isn't how we adult.
holy fuck, man.
Yeah.
That's a night and day difference. And I think that is what that person that I talked to a year ago was trying to tell me, was that, like, we had the truth shall set you free, and you guys had the truth shall set you free, but first it's gonna make you miserable.
Everything about what I remember was curating yourself to make your pain palatable. You had to be like perfectly poised at all times. You had to be on point in every way. You know what I mean? Because like you were saying, your reflection of who you were, your care that you put into the world, like you said, leaving it better than you found it. That's all part of your character development.
What does your work is your love made visible mean anything to you?
No, I haven't, and it might. I would have blocked that one.
Yeah. I don't think they ever added the book The Prophet by Khalil Gibran to your curriculum, right?
I've never read that, no.
Okay.
But I also was only there for a brief stint, and then I went to my sophomore year before Hyde. I went, or no, it was my junior year, sorry. My sophomore year, I went to this weird school. We had to read all these like,
what was it called?
Yeah, I was Hyde junior year and then junior and senior year at Graydon. That's what it was. But so it was second year seniors. That's why I said 2 years above me.
What was
Okay.
the school before Hyde, though? What was it called?
The school before Hyde was called the New School of Northern Virginia, and it was run by like the 80s schools without walls. It was not an reform school or behavioral school, but we read a lot of the books there too. Like we had to read Thomas Beckett's Endgame, which was a play that we had to correlate to like a morning module, which fed into like our art class, which was English romanticism, for example.
Did you have to do so? But
that was before Hyde. That was called the New School of Northern Virginia. You could Google them; they're still open too. We had a headmaster. We literally had a headmaster.
So, did you ever have to do? Do you ever have to hold a blue ball of energy in your hands?
And, like, no, we did. I don't remember anything with like energy transfers like that, but I do remember like the clearing, like clapping and cheering and stuff, and getting the energy of the room they would do to like help amplify things. That was one thing Hyde would do during like when someone would confess something or someone would be held accountable for something, or like you said, when I had to get up and do like that song and sing it, like those were all energy movements, but it wasn't like transferring energy and blue balls or anything like that.
Okay. Did you, so in that, so this was more like stuff like that. They were training. It was like after the work or discovery,
okay,
or
discovery groups.
Yeah,
what we called them.
Because they would keep you up at night, right?
So no, that's where it got weird. I don't remember that unless that was like a senior ritual, because I wasn't a senior. But what they would do is if you were on 2-4, if you were in trouble, they could keep you up, they could wake you up, they could do whatever they want. So 2-4 was like a separate, you were taken out of regular curriculum. You were put on this work crew with like 10 or 7 of your peers. You had to go through daily trainings, daily workouts. Like they'd make us run suicides till we were vomiting.
Yeah, that's what a prophet was, kind of.
They'd keep us up, they'd scream at us, they'd let us shower if they wanted. We couldn't eat if they didn't want us to. Like I told you, I've heard horror stories of kids before me. They made wake up at 4 a.m., dig a hole and stand in it for no reason other than this senior can make them do it.
And was there stuff like they'd dig their own grave for their own funeral and like make their own obituary?
I feel like it was stuff like that, yes, that they had to do. I didn't personally have to do that one.
It was like the stuff that you didn't do.
No, I did not have to dig the hole, but I had to stay up late at night. I had to do the no showering thing. We weren't allowed to talk. We had to be silent when we were on 2-4. We couldn't look at the kids. We had different meals that we ate. I mean, it was just it was like we were in prison. I hate to say it. It's like we were in prison on this pretty campus.
So was 2-4 something that you went through, that you did because you were bad, or was it just something that you did to get through it?
So there were multiple reasons you could get on 2-4. It was because you were bad. It was because your grades weren't good. It was because you refused to play a sport. It was because you backtalk a teacher. I mean, you could do anything, literally. You could look at someone the wrong way and get put on 2-4.
So 2-4 is like a full-time table or okay. Yeah.
So
Okay.
you, like, let's say I knew you and I knew you smoked a cigarette, right? I'm like, okay, I know Kari smoked a cigarette. If they find out that I knew and I didn't narc on you, I'm on 2-4.
Okay, so with the other person that got in trouble, would they also be on 242?
Yes, they would have to immediately.
But wouldn't that be a liability for them because those two people got in trouble and then both being on 24, they wouldn't want them to keep being in
No,
trouble?
they would have us together the whole time. That's how I became really good friends with Alex. Not that she got in trouble, but her and I were on 2-4 together, which is how we got really close with each other. And she was close with another girl, and I was close with another girl in my dorm, and it became like the four of us were friends. But they didn't care because you weren't allowed to talk. So it didn't matter if you had a problem or not with that person. You're not allowed to talk to them anyway. You're only allowed to talk to your
Right.
yeah. So they didn't care. It was just trauma.
But they wanted you to be friends afterwards, though.
They wanted everybody to be cohesive.
That's the anomaly. That's the other anomaly, is that is not the case with any other schools except for my campus, your campus, Cascade, and halfway of RMA. Like after RMA, they would like talk shit about them, but like there wasn't like it wasn't that like people would write down their phone numbers and addresses like that.
Oh yeah, family trees. They encourage family.
That's how it was with CEDU too. It was even to the point where, like, if you graduated, you could call CEDU and get other people's phone numbers if you had lost them or if they update them. Like,
I might do that. I don't know. I did not graduate, and I also know they're very heavily alumni based. So they do keep it going in the alumni and the grants. Like if you look on their website, it will show you people that have donated over $50,000 to the school alone.
No, the YouTube for Hyde is the most terrifying thing I've ever seen because it blatantly shows every graduation. It says who they are. It shows them walking. It shows, them speaking, and it's every single one.
Yeah, and that's what I think they trained you for your speaking.
Inventory of saying that you're a part of this. This is an Illuminati fucking secret society. These are your people. These are your professional colleagues probably in life later on. I mean,
I never thought of it that way, but yeah, that is kind of like a roll call publicly.
I mean, like, it's what's funny is that, Adam Egget talked about CEDU for, like half an hour almost on Joe Rogan Experience. And at the end of it, he's like, and sometimes I wish I could go back. I wish I could go, because like everything was taken care of and like all my friends were there and it was fun because CEDU, as bad as it was as good.
Yeah, Hyde was not good.
They gave us highs like they gave us the lows on purpose. They they made us like as bad as it was. They made it that good. There was one time, so what they would do is they would be like, "Oh, we need 15 volunteers," and they would be like, "We want to see, if you're a good student, you'll raise your hand, whatever." But so 90% of the time it would be like, "Oh, you have to go do some chore that we don't have anybody's time to do right now or whatever." But then every once in a while, it would be like, "Okay, go to the basketball court because the Harlem Globetrotters are here and they're going to teach 15 of you basketball for the next 3 hours."
Okay, so there were moments that were
came to teach us fucking basketball. Like I played fucking basketball with the Harlem Globetrotters when I was fucking 14. You know what I mean? Or like
I could see how that would be like the positive was weighed with the negative, but I could tell you at least for Hyde, it was negative after negative after negative. And then when I thought I was finally going to get out after what happened when I ran away, then I'm stuck there at Thanksgiving. And I wait, do you know what? I had to be grateful that they didn't send me to the island to break me at Seguin.
Right.
Child is part of it.
Yeah, because the whole thing is that like they can't have anybody leaving that's gonna talk bad about it.
Exactly.
Yeah, like you can't graduate and be and talk bad about it.
No, you're like permanently brainwashed. I feel like if you graduate because those people won't speak out. And I know at least one person that graduated and it was not a good experience for them and they still won't talk.
Well, I know why. Because it's because it's for a multitude of reasons. It's embarrassing to their real life. They've gotten over it. and they don't want to bring it up. They don't want, they don't have any personal investment in doing anything about it, but they will tell me about it so that like at least I know, more of the story. The amount of people that I know off the record is astounding.
I was gonna say it's probably profound.
It's like fucking really famous people too, dude. It's like
I believe it.
It's like there'll be people that like find me because I'm a musician, and they'll be like, "Oh, cool people find me," and I'll be like, "Oh yeah, just I make a secret. I have a secret life," and they're like, "No, that's why I'm finding you," and I'm like,
Awesome.
"Are you kidding me?" And they're like, "Yeah, I saw that you were cool," and and I'm like, "Oh," and it's what's funny is like I'll be like, "Oh, yeah," and they're like, "Oh, I also talked to Zach Bonnie," and I'm like, "Oh, that's really funny because Zach Bonnie really only talks to really cool people."
That's awesome.
It's like, yeah, it's doing this job. There's a long line of people that have done it before, and then it becomes clear that because the survivor community is a fucking cult, those people have to separate themselves or are then unfindable at large because of the verbal attacks they will get or how it will
I'll be honest, when I started getting attacked, I almost thought about it like, do I need to just go off the grid? Like, and I had a long conversation with my husband, and he's like, Megan, you're making so much progress right now. Like, you're hitting the right doors right now. Don't give up the good fight right now. And that's why I told you, just looking at like, and I'm not going to say it out loud, but who was on my stories 2 days ago, clearly I'm ruffling feathers in the right places. You know what I mean?
That to me was like, ooh, I wish I could say that to my fucking psychiatrist. Like,
Can't wait till Friday when I show my psychiatrist.
Yeah, and I want your psychiatrist to just call me someday. Like,
I think he's watching your YouTubes. I'm not gonna lie.
Cool. Like, that's so cool. Because I have like a psychiatrist who's basically my therapist because he believes me.
Yeah.
And he watched my 2 recent podcasts, the one I did on Confronting the Line on Anne's podcast, and then when he watched the Cult Vault, he was like, Jesus, he's like, well, how did you get on that podcast? That's like a real, like, because he's watched that podcast previously, because
just recently heard about that actually since February, March. I think I learned about Cult Vault in March. I feel behind.
Well, because so the Cult Vault is the first people besides Liam Sheff who have talked about CEDU online or like in anything, and they had interviewed my friend Mike Malaban for like 9 hours.
Oh wow!
Like they interviewed him multiple times on the Cult Vault. And it was like he got a lot of hate on for it because he didn't graduate.
Then why are you gonna get hate if you don't graduate? If nobody that graduated will talk out, what's the interim? Like, what's the balance, guys?
The fucking first 8 months, 9 months of me making the documentary, it was like I was getting to the point where like I was like I realized the first hour I was talking to people from CEDU is that they were screening me to see if I was making a pro CEDU documentary or an anti CEDU documentary, and I would have to be clear like this is a CEDU documentary. There's no pro or anti that. I'm showing everything.
Honestly, good journalism should be a all-encompassing, all facets of the diamond shown. Like nothing's perfect, everything has flaws. Or nothing's all flawed, it still has good parts. I understand that. And you can't talk about CEDU without talking to the staff. Like you can't do that. That's
the reason. So I've since even MySpace days, I've been friends with John Liederbach Vega. He was the physics teacher at CEDU. When I was first taught how to set up a guitar, when I worked at Guitar Center, within an hour, I could do it almost as good as the guy who taught me how to do it.
That's awesome.
And I a guitar builder because I understand applied physics and conceptual physics super well because this guy had to teach it to me when I was at CEDU. So I've been friends with him for forever. So I knew. So when I was like, "Can I make a CEDU documentary or whatever?" I'm like, "John L.V., I've been friends with you for my whole life. Would you talk to me about CEDU? Because if you will tell me how the fuck you ended up working there, that's the story." And he was like, I would love to do that. And that's when I knew I had a documentary. He was asking the second staff that I still love how, I know that you don't think that that was a wonderful place at this point. You know what I mean? Like, they watched the program and they feel responsible because they know that
that's a big shift, that adults are taking accountability, because as children we were forced to take accountability for things we shouldn't. So if the adults, even if they didn't realize then, if they grew, that's a huge thing.
So we have to grow up as adult survivors. We stop calling ourselves survivors and be like, we went through something, we're trying to be something else. I don't know what the word is yet, but it's just like
Anti-heroes.
Yeah, I mean, it's sure, like Hannah K's tried to be like, oh, she like made an Instagram that's like the troubled parent industry. That just farther ostracizes your entire family from the community, first of all. Like, it's just like, what? It's like, it's a farther cult thing of like pushing your family away from like even looking at the activism tied to this. Cause it's just like,
I just think it's weird. So like, I haven't spoken to my father in almost a year, right? From around the time I almost died. The ICU trauma that I kind of told you about, from the H. pylori, which is the stomach infection. But got like an Instagram the other day, and I know he's like, it's like my people I might know. And I'm like, oh, this can't be my dad. This is someone pretending to be my dad, right? And then I see he follows my my half stepbrother, and I'm like, oh nope, this is my dad. Block.
Yeah.
But I just can't, like, if you can't be part of, and I'm not, this isn't towards you, but like for my family and stuff, if you can't understand what I went through and you can't respect it, then you can't have space in my world right now.
No, it's got to the point where my psychiatrist, I have an outstanding bill for, I don't know, like months of my psychiatrist because I can't pay it, first of all, but he's just like doesn't even care about it because he knows that my dad's just not, because it's not worth my psychiatrist talking to my father to even get paid because it's such a hassle just to deal with the man because he's just in such denial. And he says such horrible things to me. Like, we've tried to have like, group sessions where my dad's just like, Kari, CEDU is not the problem. You need to get over your mother or being a horrible mother before CEDU. And I'm like,
but it all factored into everything. And they broke us when we were in our most pivotal stages of growing.
No, it's because my dad is an asshole that is, mad about my mom. And so he just is like, oh, it's your mom, it's.
So is that his self-denial then?
Yeah, he's a genius in his field that invented a kind of therapy. You can't tell him that he spent over $100,000
makes that
using his own daughter in the name of therapy.
That makes sense.
He'll never get it. He'll never get it.
See, and that's what I fear. Like, my family will never get it. And either my dad's going to die or I'm going to die at some point. And am I never going to have this closure? You know what I mean? Because my mom passed and I never got an apology. And her name was Karen. I shit you not.
That's so fucking funny.
I'm never going to get the apology from Karen that I need. And
the only apologies I've gotten is from CEDU staff. Is that the CEDU staff that they saw that, like, when I was trying to go to Survivor's Prom to make my documentary, that my dad fucking institutionalized me against my will, and they were like, this is horrible, and that's why they gave me fucking, a whole bunch of documents to try to tell this story.
That's unfortunate that it happened that way, but maybe it's beneficial to your end goal. Maybe this will get you the documentary made.
Well, no,
it needs to be made.
This is getting made. I don't fucking care.
It needs to be made.
Kills me. You and Lola and a whole bunch of people have permission to have everything that I already have because it's the only copy of that's known in the universe.
I think that what you're doing is incredible, and I think that you've put yourself on an altar and sacrificed yourself for so many humans that are going to turn around and thank you more than you ever know, because all I can say is thank you for everything that you've opened my eyes to. Like you say, you didn't realize it was a cult. Like, no, bitch, I did not realize it was a cult, and I feel dumb.
Oh, sweetheart,
it's silly.
It's like, it's also like, yeah, like, just be real with people. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
There's so much hero worship that it's like, like, because basically, when I realized that I was like, when I realized that, like, it was fucking 4 a.m. and I was like fighting with fucking Paris Hilton's assistants, being like, she's not coming, and you think this is okay? And
no.
I was like, on Facebook, I was like, somebody from CEDU fucking call my cell phone right the fuck now. And Jackson Nash texted me and he goes, Bunn, what's up? And I'm like, Paris isn't here. Because he knew he knew
Yeah.
he's like, I'm like, Paris isn't here. He's like, Bunn, are you kidding? He's like, no, Paris didn't show up. I'm like, what the fuck did I do? Am I supposed to go to some fucking, there's not going to be a press conference? Paris Hilton didn't show up to her own fucking party in DC. She just asked us to like show up like to the fucking, Canvas Congress. Like, housekeeping, Hilton housekeeping, like some fucking maids for her fucking hotel. That's seriously what happened. Like they were asked to put on nice shoes so that like you could Congress for fucking Paris, and she didn't show up. And it was like,
Do you know? Part of me honestly is a little bit angry about that because I feel like she could have used this platform for so many other things, and I looked up to her so much, and now I'm like, how could you like just like let it drop? Like how could you?
Because of Katie Mack. The whole thing is that I don't think that Paris Hilton is necessarily an evil person. I think that Katie used her and fucked it up so badly for us that it is a PR nightmare and she can't deal with it. Because I don't know if you know, Paris Hilton is not involved with Katie Mack anymore.
Oh, I did not. No, I don't follow all these. Like, I didn't even know Hannah K's name until recently because, like, I didn't consider myself ever part of the community because honestly, I never thought they'd believe me, even with the receipts. I never thought these people would believe I was one of them.
The whole, like, if you see a fucking Facebook profile with like certified survivor on it, what the fuck is that shit? Like this is not some sort of like fucking club. Like if you talk to somebody and they have this fucking shared experience, or if you're like, oh, does the song Desperado mean something to you? Yeah, there's just certain things that
I don't know what those are, but for you, I get it.
Yeah, like I've had to learn what the programming was for at least a dozen schools by now, and there's still so many more that I don't know. And
that's it too. When this documentary comes out, do you know how many other schools you're probably going to learn about that we didn't, like, had no idea that they existed?
Well, basically, what my documentary is basically an homage. Well, I want part of it to be like, okay, you've seen the Manchurian Candidate. You've seen Clockwork Orange. You've seen
yes.
You know about the Stanford Prison Experiment.
Yes.
You've heard what the secrets are of MKUltra. My friend Dimitri a year ago made a fictionalized movie about MKUltra called Free LSD. And for a year, I've been trying to explain to him, Dimitri, I went to a real MKUltra. You know what I mean? So it's like there's so many fictionalized versions of what we went through. And for me, it was Stranger Things is a huge way of explaining what we went through. But it's the shine in Stephen King's fiction is that a lot of us have a shine to us. I don't know any other way to fucking explain it other than that we were something after
the mystics. I think mystic is the best way to put it because each of us is a little bit different, but there's something there that's not 100% normal. And I've known this for a while.
And it's also that, so my director brought this up. He's like, there's a new reality show that they're testing if autistic people are psychic.
What?
Yeah, that because it's known that like even if you've seen Ghostbusters,
what?
that like Peter Venkman was like doing like a test to see if autistic kids could see what was on the other side of a car. That's like in the beginning of Ghostbusters. Yeah, it's like known that like people with autism are slightly clairvoyant.
I did not know that.
It's like scientifically proven, which is why I think one of the reasons why like in MKUltra they were trying to see if they could force autism on
to make people clairvoyant by choice by force.
The thing is that I don't think that they even were trying to do that though. I think that that's just the effect.
So they were like, hey, this looks like a great idea, and here's the end result of what we created decades later.
I think that based on when I'm reading the 15 things that they were trying to do with MKUltra, which is like the first one's like see what they can do with LSD.
Okay,
and
we
then
didn't do that.
The other one's like it's all in the name of behavior modification.
Yeah.
So it's like see what we're gonna do with LSD. And then they're like, what do we do with for like doing psychotherapy on people who are sleep deprived and still having sex on that. That's and then have hypnosis,
therapy,
attack therapy, hypnosis, and then fucking lie detectors that they were trying to find a truth serum. So they're also trying to figure out like how some people could know when somebody's lying. We all are cold readers. We're all would be really good fucking FBI profilers. Like we, you know what I mean?
I agree.
You know, like we, it's and it's not something that like, we could probably ever make money on, but it's the kind of thing where like if you have a rich friend and we might be like, good to have around. So much so that in Norm Macdonald's book, he said that Adam Egan has given him some good bets before just
Said
on
that, the lottery.
and some stuff. So it's like, but I also know that like we can't use it on ourselves.
So I'll give you a really good one. Remember like 2 years ago when the Super Bowl went into double overtime? I told my husband what to bet on and told him to say it was double overtime. And he's like, no. Goes into first overtime. His friend's there. I'm like, Debo, say it's going to go into double overtime. He's like, I'll take that bet. And he took it and he lost against my husband. Or, yeah.
No, because like I just know that a girl, somebody that I know, she tried, it's like, we call it manifesting. It's pretty much what they've called it. It's like, if you try to like wish something hard enough or like, make something come true in your brain, and if it's like for personal gain or if it's like, not supposed to be happening, it's gonna hurt. Like, if you can make it happen, it might really hurt some, in some,
Agreed. Because it's karma. It's the rules of karma. It will always come back somehow universally.
So fucking lame. Like, it sounds like so witchy. It's like whatever, but it's like, it's goddamn. It's and the thing is, because I was a fucking muggle before this. I was not psychic in any sort of way before CEDU, and it took me a very long time to even like admit to myself. And it's there's something.
I started starting to admit like I told you the other day, like I can't think certain things because I don't want negative things to happen, and I feel like even if I think it, it's going to be negative. So like I've gotten to the point where with my thinking, I try to like stay neutral or stay positive or make sure that I can keep myself positive. Or if I go in that negative space, I kind of like go off the grid, you know what I mean? And I'm in bed because that's the only way that I feel like I cannot affect those I love negatively. Even just by like, oh my God, I get the dread and I'm like, someone's going to die and then someone dies, and it's not my fault, but it's like, I sit there and I'm like, did I do this? You know what I mean? And because I thought it and it just sucked.
Yeah. No, the thing
is, crazy saying that.
I've heard so many people say shit like that to me. You know what I mean? Like, it's like,
good. Then I don't feel as bad.
Crazy. It's like it's those exact things don't happen to me, but 100 fucking women have told me that.
Okay, good. Then I don't feel as bad.
No, it's like, and that's the whole thing is that like, I like my story is a collective of stories that of other people, mostly women who have backed up, the whole theory of even MKULTRA, because like I only was able to write that weaponized Zen thing based on fucking 100 people telling me the same thing. I mean,
that's awesome.
Okay. It's not
like I feel crazy saying it, and like I know normal is just a setting on a washing machine. Shout out my old therapist, she's amazing, but like I don't feel normal, and I don't like that I don't feel normal in a society where normal is the only quote unquote acceptable thing to the people that think they're normal.
No, and it's like, it's also like when we call each other like, this is the troubled teen industry. That doesn't make sense for the world. You know what I mean? Like if you like
we have a problem, not the school was a problem.
Right. It's like, no, this is government CIA fucking embarrassment. Like, this is conspiracy level cool shit. This is this is a story the world has been wanting to know what happened to all this, secret government knowledge. They've been writing stories about it. Stephen King's been writing about it from day one. He calls it
to read The Institution. I'm going to have to do that.
It's called the Institute, but yeah, it's Mother Abigail is like a character in the Stand who it's Stephen King will write about people with just any sort of like psychic ability or whatever. But in his stories, it comes down to because they were a part of a government thing called the Shop, where they were part of MKUltra. It's basically Stephen King's version of MKUltra.
I made a post a while back, and I was just joking, but it got a lot of traction, and it was something like, like I'm what the government built. I'm like Project X. I'm the anti-hero. This is what happens when you put adamantium in people. And now you want to not help the person that you use to systematically break. Like, it's disgusting.
No, we are weapons. We are verbal weapons. We are the person that like walks around the world and like other people will be like, "Oh, I only believe that story could have been real because it came out of your mouth because you've told me stories like that before." Like we
have the documentation and the way to show the credibility behind it that they can't turn away from.
Yeah. Like I would even say like people would call me name dropper or whatever, or they'd say that like, or just we're not impressed by like, things that like are silent norms. So I don't know. It's just, yeah, we're charismatic leaders.
I guess. Do you ever get where too you walk in a room and like the room just is silent before you walk in and you're just like, what's going on? Because that happens a lot too, and that makes me feel so awkward. I don't know if you know, like I don't go out in public without like my headphones on most of the time, or earbuds, because I can't handle publicing. Like I can't. And my husband's gotten really good about it where he understands now, but like typically, like if I go to the flea market and stuff, I have to have headphones on because I can channel like everything, and it's just too much.
I don't mind being like, I'm usually the loudest person in every room.
So I can be loud, but like I'm more recently not so much, but yeah, like these are my best friends.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I have to keep headphones and earbuds with me like when I'm out in public because like if a music come on or like doctors' fucking offices kill me because like I ask you to like fill out a form while a television is going or while there's talking, and it's like
it's sensory overload.
There's no, I've been like I can't, I literally cannot do this. Like my earphones are not noise canceling, and I just can't, there's no way that I can fill out any form while there's any sort of.
I think that's another thing I've noticed with at least the people that I still talk to is that they get overwhelmed very easily out in the outside world.
The biggest thing that I can't get over is the musical trigger. And as a musician, it really fucking sucks is that like I can't be on hold with music.
Wow.
That is the downfall for me. Like if I had one wish that I could get over, just the one fucking thing is that I could get over the musical stuff, is that if it's like, if I, try to do real life shit, like real life adulting shit, making appointments, whatever. Oh, let me just put you on hold. Fuck it. And then I'll just be like I'll be in a crying ball because I couldn't, because it's, I don't.
It's weird the triggers that disassociate me as well, but when they're there, they're unavoidable. You know what I mean? I get it. I understand.
Yeah, it gets to the point where I'm like, my doctor's office will be like, can I put you on hold? No, but you could put me on
call me backlist.
Yeah, or be like absolutely, it's but yeah, it's
do you know profound that you're talking like adult shit and you say it kind of jokingly, but knowing your triggers is a huge step that most people don't even know. Like that's profound in your healing journey.
Right, but because I've found better ways to explain it by now. Because it's like, have you seen Clockwork Orange? It's like we can't hear Beethoven like that. Like that's how Imagine. That's who the Beatles is. Because my school is actually built on the MKUltra shit, but they flipped the switch when John Lennon died to fucking really integrate the teachings of the Beatles and John Lennon into our fucking shit.
And the Beatles, you can't escape that. That's everywhere.
No, especially as a musician. It's professionally incorrect to hate the Beatles. So my entire life, I've be like, oh no, I highly respect these people. They are geniuses. Yes, I know. I'm well aware because I went to a basic cult of the Beatles. Like, we worshipped the Beatles to the point. But I can't hear. Here Comes the Sun, Imagine, Yesterday. There's a whole bunch of them. Yeah.
All right. Oh, I'm getting tired, girl.
Yes, we've been talking for 3.5 hours. I knew there was gonna show.
Did I do okay?
You did fantastic. I'll edit this and see what we can but yeah, I knew this would happen. We will talk again. But
Okay.
yeah,
I
there's a
appreciate
reason why
you.
they didn't want us to
Soon.
talk
I
for so
guess
long.
I did okay.
You did beautifully. You did beautifully.
Okay, perfect.
Say goodbye to your audience.
I'll talk to you soon. Bye, girl.
Bye.